Hiya BenchMates, this is Beyond the Box Art, the official podcast of the International Plastic Modelers Society UK. Welcome to this special episode for IPMS Scale ModelWorld at Telford, and we discuss the event with Paul Regan, Rich Middleton and Andy Brown. Please welcome your host, Paul Pendleton-Brown, and joining him this episode are Mike Baldwin, Dan Brazil, Luke Flynn, James Nevitt, Mark Housley, Martin Drayton, and Paul Wong.
Hi BenchMates, and welcome back to Beyond the Box Art, the official podcast of IPMS UK, where passion meets precision and the airbrush never sleeps. I'm Brownie, and in episode 13 we're bringing you another packed bench full of modelling stories, inside chat and inspiration from across the hobby. Joining me for this episode we have Wongy.
Hello!
Dan.
Hello, BenchMates.
Mark.
Hello, guys.
Martin.
Good afternoon from Utah.
Luke.
Hello.
And Boulders.
Hello, all.
Coming up in this episode, we have our normal roundup of what's on our benches and the stash inflation report. Plus, Precision by Passion is back with Andy from Jamscrew in Australia, talking about the upcoming 132nd Sea King. But our focus this episode is on the upcoming IPMS Scale ModelWorld at Telford, which, when this episode drops, is 2 days away. If you haven't finished your build yet, panic.
Ah!
As always, a massive thank you to our sponsors, Ammo by Nick Jimenez, Fishcom Model Company, and Face Hanger Resin Accessories that helping to keep the mic on, the coffee strong, and the plastic flowing. So grab your brew, clear space on your bench, and let's get into it. This is episode 13 of Beyond the Box Art, and it starts... So Wongy, what's on your bench?
Brownie, I have worked like the clappers, northern term, on HMS Sheffield. So it's one of those things where, like I said last time, forget the instructions. The instructions only tell you where bits go. If you're going to paint it and mask it and try and save yourself a world of hurt, you have to do it in a different order. I will release that order. I've got Boulders nodding at me because he knows building his battleships. But I will release that order to Dr. Leo, who wrote in to us. I've not forgotten you, Dr. Leo, by the way, out there in Germany, name dropper. Actually, I've got a bit of a pain in my back. I wonder if he's one of those doctors. It's leaning over on the HMS Sheffield. But anyway, so yes, I've been working on HMS Sheffield.
Is it lean, or you got a list?
Oh my God, I've got a list. Anyway, right, getting back to me, I actually have finished a model, the first one in about 5 months, which is the FX 148 Sea Harrier. It's all finished and it's looking quite nice. I've not weathered it or put loads of things on it because you don't actually see it, in my opinion, even at 148 scale. You can be quite gentle with some of the weathering. So obviously I put jet blasts and things like that, which you see on the photographs. But in terms of panel lining, I've kept that to a minimum. And with it being at sea, let's face it, it's a bit wet out there, so it's going to wash, isn't it? So that one's all done and finished off in time for Telford, 2 days away. For the rest of us, it's a little bit longer. That's it, really. So it's HMS Sheffield. I've asked the great and the good on a different Facebook page to give you some advice about Type 42 rigging. I'm just waiting on that one so I can come back to you, Dr. Leo. That's my build.
So what have you spending your cash on?
Nothing.
Blimey, that's the burst.
No, I've been saving because you've got Telford coming up, haven't you? Yeah.
No, he's actually a bit of a tightwad. This is also true.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for Boulders to come back to me to say there's a £10 132nd scale trumpeter kit over there, where he gets me all excited. I run over there and it's gone. And sometimes I do think Boulders is making it up for me now.
Or maybe the fact he's already bought it.
Yeah.
No. And he wouldn't get his own tenner, couldn't he? He could have used his own tenner for a minute.
Well, you know I want that Matchbox Puma, don't you?
32nd scale?
Yeah.
That's going to cost you, isn't it?
It wasn't a few years back because everybody was trying to get
We're not there now, are we now? What's it going to cost you now?
Oh, I don't want it anymore now.
All right.
Well, the thing is, Mark, you just got to wait until Saturday lunchtime for our special episode to drop. You never know. There may be an announcement.
Hey, don't tell me. One gate's your dream come true.
It is. And
Get it?
I've got 15 quid ready.
So not only are we wishing for something that was out a few years ago, we're actually going to spend the same amount of money it was a few years ago.
Absolutely. Cost of living crisis doesn't exist in my kit world.
Yeah.
Saying that, my burnishing fluid was quite expensive. Well, I bought it in the last episode, so it doesn't really count for this one. Fair enough. Apart from, I did use it, and it's quite scary, isn't it, when you first use burnishing stuff?
Can I ask you something about that?
Yeah, go on.
If it says burnishing, but I was talking to Balders and he was telling me it was for etch, so you can put paint on it. I always understood burnishing was something that turned the colour of the etch to black or darkened it.
It doesn't.
And it wasn't used for an etchy primer.
Not quite the same thing. So with this fluid from our good friends at Mach, it's still quite expensive in my book, but then again, I am tight. You pour it in, and I took Balder's advice, which was you use a plastic container, pour the whole lot into the container, and then drop the whole sheet of photo etch into the container and weigh it down. So I applied.
I've had it turn black.
And that's a good thing. So you dip it in once, it turns black, and it's quite sooty. So you're taking out, and you have to be really careful with this, and you've got to wipe it down with non-link type cloth. I use a kitchen roll and gently just patted it until the soot came off. Because if you do that, it will just nick on each of the little bits of railing or wherever, and you'll end up bending it. So you got to treat it with kids. Dab, dab. That's the only way you can do it. And then once you've done the first pass, you dip it back in again. And that's the second one gives it a really good sort of colour, which isn't shiny brass.
I'm just confused because as an armour builder, I used a burnishing fluid for doing tank huts, and I didn't know that anybody used it for anything else. What are you using it for?
It's for the photo etch for the railings on HMS Sheffield. I dipped the whole sheet in. I did initially start using it with individual cut parts, but it was so fiddly and small, and basically you can't grip it to wipe it down. So I thought, right, I've chucked the rest of the sheet in. It was easier to manage that way, to put it all in, clean it, dip it in again, clean it, and then I thought, you know what, I may as well spray it while it's all on the fret, and that has been an absolute godsend. Don't cut the railings, put it onto the ship, and then spray it. Spray it before you do it. It makes a massive difference. You don't have to mask. Can you imagine masking behind it? Yes, so I've been using that, and it's been a terrifying experience. I didn't know what I was doing. I read the instructions. They didn't seem to work quite well, and then I magically went sooty. It worked brilliantly, and it takes the paint fantastic.
I always understood there was a specific magic potion for doing that you painted onto your etch.
So, it's this. You burnish it. I know you know what the chemical process is, but it keys the metal so that you can actually apply it. Yeah.
I have the use you all.
All right. How much is that one?
2p. Just waiting to see you face. I don't know, mate. Maybe a tenner. I have no idea.
Right, Migs is far cheaper than the tenner.
I don't know. I have no idea what it costs. I've had it for such a long time.
The job is low. No, the best way to do it is have a container like an old takeaway tray, and just pour the lot in that, dip it in. When you finish with it, and I don't know if I'm doing this right or wrong, I poured the whole lot back into the bottle, left it there, and all the sediment settled down. So you can basically decant what you need, back into the chippy tray. And then the sediment, you can just rinse that out.
If you use coffee filter papers and pour it in, it'll filter it all out and pour it back into.
But he always tells you after you've done it.
Because nobody asks, Matt. Everybody thinks of the cousin.
Everybody thinks you're daft.
No, we need bold investing. So there you go, Brownie. That's what I've been playing around with, being terrified by HMS Sheffield. So, Dan, what have you been building?
I've been building a few things, but my bench has been commandeered by the 13-year-old living in my house. I'm very pleased about that, but somewhat frustrated in other respects. Something arrived the other day that he wanted, and it is from me, it's the Paul Atreides 1/16 figure from the Dune movies. It's actually a figure of Timothée Chalamet, the actor. They've obviously got permission to use his image. He saw it at the Lincoln show he went to, and decided that he wanted it. So I said, okay, let's get it bought for you. And he bought it with his own money. It's fantastic. The moulding in it is beautiful. The engineering of it, the way that they've done it with all the joints and everything is just absolutely fantastic. No glue. There's about 150 pre-painted parts that are on the sprues. He snipped them out himself, cleaned up all the burrs, and then sat there clicking it all into place. Very Gundam-esque in its makeup, how it's made. And this is the deluxe edition. So it come with a display stand and its own real fabric, but wired cape. And my son, as I said, he does all these posing with figures, the Spider-Man and all the Marvel stuff. And he can do that with this. So it just ticks every box. The only trouble is, I don't know what else we can buy that's like this apart from Gundam. I don't know if there's any film characters that we can build and sort of work on together.
Why don't you ask our benchmates to email you at dan@beyondtheboxart.com and they can actually give you some suggestions.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because there's got to be someone out there that's probably into this stuff and will go, yep, I know exactly what you can get him or what he can buy, you know. He wants to do some weathering on it. We're going to give it a bit of a sand dusty wash, because all of the imagery of the film, the characters, they're in the desert, aren't they? So it's all very dry and dusty. But yeah, really happy with it. And it's all the engineering and the articulation in it is absolutely fantastic. It's so impressive. I didn't even know about it.
Does it actually look like him? Feature-wise?
The box art.
No, I mean the actual figure.
Beyond the box art. It's a real likeness. Obviously, it's moulded in plastic. You get two faces as well. You get one designed to have the air-breathing apparatus. The eyes are pre-painted. The only thing it needs a bit of a skin wash and stuff just to bring the face to life and change it from looking a bit too toy-like. But yeah, we're really happy with it. So we'll be keeping our eye out for something else. Personally, as some of you may have seen, I've been making progress on the Little Tamiya 148 KV2, which is just lovely. Really enjoying that one. I'm going to leave it as it is for a while, because I like the idea of seeing it with all the photo etch, and I might take it down club and whatnot. And because I don't actually see many models at shows in that state with all the etch on them and resin and all the extra. I know there are a few people out there that do like to do their models that way. I know Mr. Rob Riv in America builds his models that way, which is good to see. I've finally made a start on the Edward 148 B17, the bloody 100th boxing. It's actually the HK kit. I've had it for quite a while because, as some of you may know, I'm a huge fan of the Mighty Eight bomb groups. I've made a start on it, but at the request of my missus, because the last time we went to Thorpe Abbott's, the bloody 100th bomb group museum, she snuck off back into the shop. I thought, where's she gone? So I went to find her, and the chap said, go in there. And then when she came out, she said, I've just bought a Christmas present for you, but you can't see it. And then the other day she said to me, you need to get on with that B17 because your Christmas present ties in with that. So yeah. I've made a start. Yeah, all the internal parts of it is done. And obviously I used our Luke's fantastic video on that kit as a guide. So yeah, that's what's been on the beach. Purchase-wise, I think we're trying to save some money for the big one. But yeah, we went to the Lincoln show at their fantastic new venue. I was very impressed with that. It was really, really good. And I did pick up, because my son saw it, he said, Dad, got to get it. It's the little main egg B17 plane. It just makes me laugh every time I look at it. So that would be something to sit and do. And I bought some paint sets for doing German autumn, winter P-dot camo. After doing my camo on the British soldier I did, the Northern Ireland soldier, I'm going to have a go at the German P-dot camo, because painting camouflages, rather than just doing stuff in khaki and olive drab, I want to push my figure painting skills up a little bit for what's left of this year and into next year. So yeah, really happy. Mark, what you been up to, mate?
Oh, nothing really. Nothing's changed for me. Still messing about with that Elise. Got nowhere with it. Work and other things have got in the way. Plus, I've just, when you hit a brick wall on summer, it has kind of happened a little bit. So, and then I've had a disaster. I've done nothing on the bench, but spending money-wise, I've had to buy a new lamp. So I've been on Amazon and bought like a super duper thing here. It is 3,500 lumens.
Hang on, Matt. Isn't that MI6 quality?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, for the cost, again, it was 160 odd quid.
For a pipe bulb.
For a year, and the only reason I did it is the one that had gone, I couldn't replace. The two that had gone, I couldn't replace the bulbs. So the bulbs in it are the fluorescent type of daylight, but they're a square with rounded corners, edges or whatever. And the only ones I can get are the fully circle ones now that just wouldn't fit in it. So I thought, they were losing it anyway, I'll just buy the bullet. I've done away with 3 lamps and I've got the one and it's fantastic. So even though it was a lot of money, I'm pleased with it. Dead worth it.
Can you change the daylight hue?
Yeah, I can take it down and stuff like that. Not figured out how to change from daylight to cool white to warm white. Apparently it does that, but I've not figured that one out yet. But you can bring it down in increments of 20%. It's pretty good, to be honest with you. I have never seen anything like it for brightness. It is amazing. It's made by a company called Neatfi, Neatfi. I think they're like a professional kind of thing, And the other thing I purchased is a little bag of weird hats. And this was something I was trying to do myself. Recently, like you, Dan, I've been messing about with my figure painting. And I have got quite a lot of washes, Valleos, and I tend to forget what result I get with each wash and what it does. These little heads quite neatly fit on top of the bottle. You paint them white and then you put the wash on and then you can line them up. You can see what each wash is. So for a bag of 50, I think it's like a 10 at eBay. Oh. And I put the little gremlins there, little, well, you can pick all sorts of stuff. That's been my put.
On my bottles that are similar to that generic dropper bottle style, if it's solid paint, they've usually got, where they've been made, the caps, they've usually got a little divot in there. I paint the tops of them because I keep all my paints in a stacking tray system.
Yeah, I do.
But I would imagine the washes don't stay in there.
Something else I do with the MRP, I will take a little piece of white plastic card and then I will spray it because it's quite different. They never dry, they say, when you look underneath. If I can pick anyone out, I've got hundreds and they're all done with the specific colours. It's weird what you think up to help your day along, but then don't make any models. But yeah, that's been my week.
Martin, what have you got?
I've just come back from a big show. Before I went, I was working on a North African desert diorama, and I'd done that old Tamiya LRDG Chevy truck, the 1974 one. Still a great kit. Did it with a few add-ons, an Italian Braider gun. There is a version that comes with that, but I couldn't find that, so I had to buy that separately. And the old SDK said 222 or 223. I've just got to do the base for that. I went away to this show, and it's in Europe for the BenchMates. I live in the US, but it's really hard to find lots of good resin figures or diorama stuff in the US. So when I was in Europe, I thought, right, I'm going to stock up. I was going to get 4 or 5 small buildings, bits of buildings and stuff like that. I went over to a company called RT Diorama, who make the most amazing buildings, and they do all the stuff I was after. But they had this church, they call the village church, and this thing is massive, but it's hugely impressive. It's about 18 inches tall. It's a beast. And I couldn't help it. I had to get it. So I've just got the one thing. They have all these little extras that make it look really cool come with it. So I kept going back to the stand as I realized I needed more stuff. Long story short, I ended up completely filling my suitcase. This thing is plaster and it weighs a ton. It's probably 50 pounds. I had to take all my clothes out. I had to put them in a little bag that I had to check. And the only thing in my case was this village church. And then when I got to the airport, I realized it was going to be hand luggage. I had 4 bags at this point. There was no way I was going to be traveling rush hour in Amsterdam with 4 bags on a bus and on a train. So I had to gate check the bag. I was pretty nervous putting this giant plaster building. When I got home, a few of the pieces have some breaks in them, but they're clean breaks. I've already fixed those that repaired them, putty, and you can't actually see them now. I've started putting the thing together. I should be finishing off that diorama, but I can't put this thing down. I keep working on it. But as far as being on the bench, there is no room on my bench for anything else. This thing is so big. I'm going to have to build it on the floor, take it outside to airbrush it.
It sounds like you've had a really good time. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be recording an interview with yourself and with Spencer Pollard, who also went across to Scale Model Challenge in Eindhoven. And we'll actually go into the show in more detail. But congratulations on the 4 medals. Well deserved. What was it you actually got them for? It was some old Land Rover.
So I got a silver for the Land Rover. I got a silver for the AV8B Harrier, the True Lies one. And I took my first bust and I got a silver for that. And then I got a bronze for the diorama, which was Wasted Lives, it was called.
So you got a silver for a Harrier. How many aircraft do you normally build?
Since I've been back, this is probably number 3. So it's 3 over the last 40 years. Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad going. On average, how long does it take to build these?
Most of my dioramas take about a month. Because of the work I do, I'm a flight attendant. When I'm home, I'm totally home. So I build all day. It makes things go pretty quickly. I don't have a problem with sitting for 8 hours of building. The Harrier didn't take very long. I did one previously for a friend, and of course, I was kind of in the groove. I had everything set up, so I just blasted through it, and it took a few days.
So you did a Luke and did it quite quickly then?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what is the church going to be used in the diorama for then?
So going back to the figures that you can get overseas, there's a company called Dynamo Models, and they're a French company that do the most amazing 3D printed figures. I did see a review of their paratroopers. So I went and had a look at those. I ended up buying 9 of those. So the whole scene is going to be 101st Airborne just coming past this church. In the back of the church, because it's double-sided, there's going to be a knocked out Panzer IV. And I've got my first ever interior kit that I bought. So I'm going to have that blown apart inside. Then around the front, I'll have a load of French villagers welcoming the liberators. So that's the rough idea so far. There'll be a few other bits in it.
And what sort of timescale are we looking at for this project then?
I'm not going to rush it because the more I get involved with it, the more I can see things that I can add. If I had the front doors of the church open, you could see right through the church. But that does mean I'll have to put lots of detail in there, which I will do. So I'm thinking of Scott Gentry has a show in the summer, in June usually, Rocky Mountain Hobby Expo. So that's my rough date. Because given the size of this beast, I can't take it away and I've got layers to work on.
But just thinking that, how on earth are you going to transport it? You're not going to put that on carry-on package, are you?
No, it survived one trip on a plane. I think it's getting a second.
What sort of size footprint is it going to be?
The church itself is about the size of a placemat. Like if you had a placemat for a meal, it would be about 14 inches by about 12. It's quite big, and that's just a footprint of the church. I've got to put it on a base.
I was going to say, what sort of base are you planning?
I didn't realize they do 2 versions of it, and I thought I had got the one without the base, because that's what I wanted, but the base is in there would explain the weight, because the base is about 1 inch thick, and it's huge. So I don't think I'm going to use that base, because it doesn't have space where I want space. So besides, if I put it on that base, I'll never lift the bloody thing. As for what I bought with that, and the bits with it, I bought those figures. There's a guy, Georgi Stamov, who's from Bulgaria. He does a Basil Fawlty figure from the Germans episode. That's brilliant. And I got it by mail a while back. I don't know how. He saw me at the show and was like, "Oh, Andy Models, come over here." We took selfies and he said, "Oh, I have a present for you." He gave me a 75mm skeleton kit and it's completely posable. I might be using that with something in the future. Other than that, I got a few bits and pieces, accessories for dioramas and stuff. But the church was pretty major. Yeah.
It sounds it. So is it just one building, or do you have an east wing? Because, it'd be the only building with the east wing, and then
East wing. No, it's just the one building. Yeah.
oh, that's as political as we're going to get. So then, Luke, what have you got on the bench at the moment?
So this morning, I've just finished off my Revel 1 to 32nd scale Meteor F8. That has been an absolute joy to put together. And it is now on YouTube as of Sunday, the 2nd of November. So go and watch that. Shameful plug, but go watch it. Please. Thank you. Enjoy it. Anyway, now I am trying to crack back on with my Qatari K4 because that has been on hold while that big beast has been on the bench. So yeah, it's pretty much from 1/32 on to the next. I'm going all over the place with scales at the moment.
So where can people find the video of the Meteor then, Luke?
On my YouTube channel, mach.models.
And what have you spent your cash on?
I'll be completely honest, there has not been too much cash spending because we are in the lead up to Telford. So that means you have to put on your financial responsible hat before you become financially irresponsible for a couple of days. It's, the inverse psychology. It's great. So the only thing which I have picked up would be the new Edward hybrid via S199, I believe it is. So that will be going on the channel at some point, which is going to be superb. What else have I been spending money on? I think I've just actually seen this evening, it hasn't been purchased yet, but I'm sure it will be. Fighter Town have released some new kind of test decals, and there's an orange Phantom on it, which just looks awesome. So yeah, probably will be buying that.
Okay, and obviously for those that are driving or listening to this on the way to Telford, we're in Hall 1 for the podcast. Where are you?
I'm right next to you. I'm not too sure what side it is, but I'm right next to you somewhere with the Meteor. So come and make fun of my Meteor and say how good or how bad you think it is. It is okay. I have thick skin. So yeah.
And what else you can have on the table?
I am going to have my 2 Hornets from last October, November. My P38 Lightning from last October. More this year would be the UMA Harrier, which has been a very well-received model. The Airfix Wessex, the 2 MiG-21s in 72nd scale from Edward, my ME262. There's going to be all sorts of bits and bobs around. A couple of the favourites from the channel, but also some of my personal favourites. So there will be a nice variety of models for you to have a look at.
Cool. And can people get any merch from the pod?
I have lots of stickers for which I do not want to bring back, so feel free to take as many take one sticker initially and then maybe do a circle back and you can take another one. In terms of everything else, unfortunately, I don't have any of my mugs ready to come along with me purely because of printing issues. However, if you come and find me and you would like a mug, I'm more than happy to sort out getting a mug to you. And that is my only bit of merch for this year, unfortunately. But there are stickers, so come get stickers.
We'll have stickers for the podcast on our stand as well. And also we will have some Scale ModelWorld and Beyond the Box Art mugs available as well, as long as they arrive in time.
Bizarre.
Okay, then, moving on. Boulders, what's on your bench?
Same thing that's been on for the last possibly 3 episodes, which is the 1/350th King George V battleship. I've took the plunge. I've done it on a seascape, so that's just currently drying. I had to take a trip to a famous DIY store to see if there are any scrap pieces of wood and come away with a full sheet of 8x4 MDF cut into 1-foot sections and walked out happy as Larry. It's currently glued down onto a base. The form's been fully secured. I've used a full tub of filler, so this base is going to weigh an absolute ton. Over the weekend, I will be tinfoiling it and then going over some PVA glue ready to spray it. So the ship is together, but it's not glued because I'm still deciding on what pose I want it to be in, whether it's guns turned, ready for action. And I am messing about. I bought some photo etch. So I bought Edward's Royal Navy railings in 1/350th and 2 sets of Royal Navy gun crew. They are coloured, self-adhesive, so I just fold them in half and then pose them so it gives a better scene. And then I've decided to build another one to try and get that one done for Telford. That is a 1350 USS Lexington aircraft carrier. That is a big one. That is 773 millimeters long. So that is going to be on a 1.2 meter base. If I can get the base done. Yeah, Wonga, it's massive. It's a lot easier because the scheme that she's in is basically, it's a two-tone. It's medium sea blue with dark sea blue painted carrier deck. The beautiful thing about them is it comes with an air wing. So it comes with 4 Wildcats, 4 Dauntlesses and 6 Devastators. And the beautiful thing about these are they're not in clear.
Right.
So the canopy is completely separate. So I can glue them. The propellers are in black. So I realistically don't have to do anything regarding that. And so's the undercarriage. So they should go together really quick. And you can do them in wing fold and none.
Which manufacturer was this again?
It's Trumpeter.
Oh, Trumpeter. They make lots of little planes, don't they?
They do, but they're generally clear.
Yeah.
And that generally puts me off painting them. I think that's the way they should be going forward, where the fuselage is in plastic injection molded and the canopies are in clear, and that you're able to build them. It's not been the easiest of builds so far because the kit comes as either a waterline or a full hull. I've got it as a full hull. There are braces on the inside. Now the braces are wider than what the bottom hull is. So I've had to cut about the 10 mil chunk out of them just to be able to bring it in so that it glues. So that's why there's tape all over it. It's been like that now for the last 2 days. All of the sub-assemblies are done, so it's legs. They just got to be absolute hash dash, spray it all, glue it all together, and then most of the time it's going to be spent on the base. So yeah, King George fits on a 1 meter base, 1 meter by 300. And the other one is going to be on a 1.2 meter base by 300. So yeah, going to be big.
I think we're going to need a bigger table.
Well, the reason I've done it is because of the conversation that me and you had one day. That obviously we've got 18-footer table and it's just being able to cover it.
One day, when I finish HMS Sheffield in 1350th,
Which I hope is for Telford.
yeah, well, I hope so too, because I am getting quite anxious, like a lot of you, in terms of trying to get things finished for Telford.
So yeah, that's what's on the bench and that's what I bought. I bought some ancillaries like Mod Podge and PVA glue, the filler, which I'm going to have to buy that one. I'm going to have to buy another tub of filler. I've not put a thick coat on it because I've actually carved out the form so that the shift actually sits on the wood base. So that'll be secured. That's all I've got on at the bench at the moment. Watch this space because I think I'm going to knock aircraft on the head for a while.
Are you starting to enjoy your boating stuff a lot?
I am, yes. I'm now seem to be going into the ships. Yeah, ships, yeah. So I'm after... It's got
Tiny, organ up that one, eh?
that was given to him.
Was it?
Yeah, it was given to him by one of the club members.
Oh. Yes, this was given to me by one of our very kind club members. We were at the Lincoln show, and I think all of our listeners know that I had my heart set on building my first ship as doing a Yamato in 1350th. There was a Tirpitz on the table at Lincoln show. I had a look at it, and it's massive. And the Yamato's even bigger. And I thought, eyes bigger than your belly there, Danny. Chatting to our club shipbuilder, Steve, he said to me, I've got something you can get started on. He said, you can have it. So I'm going to have to go at the 1/700 scale USS Ticonderoga CV-14. And it comes with those little clear aircraft that you were talking about, Boulders.
That's not a bad scheme because that'll be pretty easy to do. That razzle-dazzle scheme with masking tape. So I would do your white first and then mask off your white areas, then spray the medium colour, mask that off, and then do the darker colour. You always paint the lightest colour on first.
Got it.
The ship.
I understand. Right.
Looks like Jordan.
It does. Looks like a good one. I've just gone for a plain Jane on this.
Because it's easy.
It's just blue. The thing is, though, they didn't go for the razzle dazzle in the Lexington for some reason. It didn't last long. Her and the Hornets.
Which was the one that was all blue? Then was that the Horny?
So, she's pretty much just one colour.
Which one? The Horny?
No, this is the Lexington.
Oh, the Lexington.
So, let's say she's one colour, and then the deck is like a blue, because they decided to paint him sea blue because it made him difficult to be seen. As where the Japanese in the Second World War still had them decks, so they were able to spot him a mile away. That's why they lost Paul carriers in Midway, because they were spotting him easier.
I think there were other mistakes made as well.
Well, there was Paul
Cracking their radio code was one of them.
Well, yeah.
That helps.
I would have thought landing on the blue carrier deck was much funny.
Yeah. Where are you? Could you put the lights on?
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, I don't know.
Thanks, that's all for me.
Oh, hey, Brownie. I think we may as well have a shipping forecast from now on.
Yes, we're just thinking exactly that.
I never thought in my modelling hobby life I would ever consider building a ship. So there you go. There you go. But it went through quite a few refits and uses. I tend to choose a subject that I don't know anything about. For example, that little KV2 tank. I'd find that if I buy a model of it and start building it, I understand more about it. I do some research, and it's almost a tool for research as well as the hobby. This is just something to get me started.
I was going to say that KV2, you read up about one of those held off like a German division for days because they couldn't knock the thing out. They hit it 140 times and the crew ended up walking away when they ran out of ammo. Yeah, finally. You were saying about the ship, Builders?
So Ticonderoga was laid down in 1st of February 43, launched on the 7th of February 44. She was commissioned 8th of May 44, and then she was decommissioned on the 1st of September 73. She went through 2 refits.
It lasted a while then.
So she worked the jet age as well then. You know.
She did, yeah. So she would have been at that. Yeah, and stuff.
Well, because there's Crusaders on the deck.
I think I remember seeing Vietnam era jets with that name on the side. That's why I asked.
Yeah. Crusaders.
I know that name has been used on other vessels as well, which in my generic search engine, as we all do, well, that ain't it. That's not the kit I've got.
That was the Ticonderoga class, Dan. She was a missile cruiser.
Every day's a school day, mate. I need to learn about ship classes as well.
It is so silly in our hobby that people separate themselves and laugh at other bits of it, like airplane guys and armor guys and ship guys and train guys and car guys. It's so silly.
Yeah.
I've always said I just build what I like the look of and want in the kit.
Well, I've always said I'm a modeler first and an enthusiast second. So I just like the building and the painting and all that kind of stuff. My actual factual knowledge on the hardware is pretty pants, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I've had about a 3 or 4 year education on B-17s and heavy bombers. I really didn't know much about them at all. For me, it's about reading the personal stories. I'm reading the navigator from the 100th Bomb Group, Harry Crosby. I'm reading his autobiography at the moment. I bought it from eBay because it's been quite hard to get for a few years because I haven't done a reprint of it.
Yeah.
I bought it from one of these places that sells millions of books.
Yeah.
The books by any chance?
Yeah, that's it. And it didn't have a picture of it in the description. And when it turned up, it's the first edition of it.
Wow.
I paid a $5 for it, and it's probably worth 5 times that because a lot of people want it. But anyway, getting back to the stories, for me, when you read the stories about what people went through, whether they're on a ship, in an aircraft, in a tank, even if they're in a racing car, if you can associate the story with something that you're building and the knowledge, it's such a lovely, lovely hobby for that.
Dan, just on that World of Books, about 10 years ago, I bought A Bridge Too Far off World of Books. And it was the first edition. It was signed by Cornelius Ryan. And the inside of the book. And I paid $3.99 for it. And yeah, it's probably worth a few £100 now.
It's great, isn't it? Because you never, a lottery. You don't know what's going to turn up.
Exactly.
Just Harry Crosby's book is called A Wing and a Prayer.
I got it in audio.
Yeah, I've taken the dust jacket off because obviously it's the first edition to effect pristine. It's just amazing. Some of the moments in it, it gets a bit dusty behind the glasses, I have to say.
I think there's another one called The Bloody 100. That's pretty good as well.
Yeah, I'm getting quite a collection of them now. There's John Luckadoo's one, which is really good. Unfortunately, Rosie Rosenthal, who was also one of the famous guys from the 100th Bomber Group, never did an autobiography, but he's mentioned a lot in here. And he, of course, after the war, went on and carried on his career at a law school, and he actually ended up asking the question at the Nuremberg trials. Can you imagine that?
Do you want cutting-edge detail for your kits? Then take a look at Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, run by USAF veteran Mike Reeves. With real-world aircraft experience as a crew chief, Mike knows exactly where accuracy counts. And today, he's bringing that knowledge to life with precision 3D printed parts. From seamless intakes and nozzles to dropped flaps, pods, pylons, and cockpit upgrades, Phase Hanger's prints capture the crisp edges and fine detail that limitations in injection molding just can't reproduce. From 1/72nd to 1/32nd scale, you'll find add-ons from Cold War classics to the latest frontline jets with frequent new additions to the product range. Every piece is designed by modelers, for modelers, and faithfully reproduced on state-of-the-art printers and shipped worldwide, and are ready to drop straight into your next build. With additions to the product line landing all the time, there's always something fresh to elevate your next build. Explore the full range at phasehangerresin.com and follow Phase Hanger on Facebook and Instagram for regular updates and inspiration. Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, authentic detail designed with a veteran's eye and available to modelers everywhere. Phase Hanger is a proud sponsor of the Beyond the Box Art podcast.
Behind every aftermarket innovation is someone who truly understands modelers. Precision by Passion celebrates those who don't just supply the detail, they are the detail.
So we're now joined by Andy from Jamscrew in Australia. Andy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
So obviously, for those that don't know Jamscrew, you seem to be a little bit Sea King orientated.
Yeah, 2.5 years ago, we had a bit of a crazy idea. We were into 3D printing and CAD and learning. And along the line, we thought, you know what the world needs is a large-scale Sea King kit. And that was the nucleus, and the idea spurred on from there. And 2.5 years in, we're getting pretty close to releasing the Mark III.
Looking forward to that. Why did you choose the Mark III to start with?
It's one of the simpler frames, as well as one of the people that joined in really early and volunteered a lot of help. Mike, he's got a couple of Sea Kings in his backyard, and his favorite is the Mark III. So we said to do the right thing by him and his help, we'll launch the Mark III first. It's a simple, clean design as well, so less parts.
Nice color scheme as well. Okay, so the Sea King served in so many nations and so many roles. Do you have a favorite variant or an operator that stands out to you?
For me, it's the CH-124 from Canada. I love the light and life, low vis, and, she got bristling with some attachments, kind of looks like a warfighter. So that'd have to be my favorite.
I must admit, although the Mark III from the Royal Air Force is a nice, clean version, I'm just drawn to the Norwegian 43B, the color scheme.
Correct, yeah.
You can't argue with that.
The only thing I know about a Sea King is it's a helicopter.
Correct.
That's it. That's about the extent of my knowledge. I really do not know anything about aircraft at all.
You're on the team, Mark.
He's failed at the first hurdle. I must admit, the Sea King's always had a fascination for me. We had a family friend that lived in Yeovil and worked for Westlands. And when I was a lot younger, we used to go down and visit them. And from the back garden, you could actually see the flying field at Yeovil. So I was actually looking at the Indian, the Australian Sea Kings doing test flying, etc.
Very cool.
Yes, I've sort of grown up with the Sea King inadvertently. And one of my previous airfields I worked at, we had the Royal Navy Sea King on its firm farewell tour of the UK, decided to drop in and have lunch completely unannounced. So I completely blitzed that with photographs. I then literally got him to fly in different directions around the tower and got some fantastic angles. So I'm looking down on the Sea King in flight. Brilliant.
That's the way to do it.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Okay, so we've obviously already mentioned that you've got plans for a 32nd airframe in 3D print. What is your range of 48th conversions you've got available at the moment?
Well, at the moment, all the conversions we've got are actually the work that we've done for the 32 scale. So our intent is to launch 8 versions of the 32 scale range. We've just released it into the 48 scale. To get to the question, we've got the main blades, both in the metal and the composite, in a straight and a drooped. We've just released the Mark 43 conversion kit. The Mark 50 has been out for a while. We've got an HC4 upgrade kit about to come out, Mark 48. The general stuff you'd expect for aftermarket: tail rotor uplift, landing gear, main rotor. We're just about to start work on a folded version of that. The main front door for an open configuration. There's a host of things like that, airfield accessories that we've put out there. It's incredible the detail we're able to capture because of the help we've gotten from our folks that have jumped in along the journey and volunteered their time and information to get this level of accuracy. Everything that we've done for the 32 scale that seems to have a place in the 148 scale, we've decided to release it.
Can I just ask what kind of dimensions that would be in 32nd scale?
Yeah, so look at that sucker. That's probably going to be about 450 mil, roughly, nose to tail. Couldn't tell you what the rotor disc would end up being. So she's not a small 32 scale.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, it's quite good at the scale. We've drawn most things in 1-to-1 scale. We've printed some 1-to-10 scale parts as promotional stuff. We've got the collective and cyclic. We've done it as a bit of a gimmick at 1-to-1 scale and sent some of that stuff around to some of the guys that have a history with the Sea King. It's about a community for us. It's a business, but it's a community.
Right. The 43B, you said you'd actually done a set, and I must admit I've actually ordered one for myself because I just can't leave that version alone. But the stretcher, etc., you've got to go inside. Is there any other details, or have you got any detailed interior photographs for the firm Norwegian? Because I'm struggling desperately to find any detailed shots inside.
We certainly have spent a lot of time browsing the web. That's our main resource. We've met a lot of people along the way who have the same passion for the Sea King. We've got a group that I've called the Fearsome Five up in Germany. They're avid modelers, and they've done a lot of work with our product to really give it a dry run. And one of them, also in the military, but he's an avid photographer, and he was recently up there, and he's captured some photos. We've got a lot of inside and outside on the 43 as well, whether it's the B or earlier.
I'm assuming, knowing, obviously with your knowledge, what books would you recommend for people? The Sea King must-have books.
Yeah, I guess the books, there's a whole range. That was one of the first things we did, is try and find and buy everything. There's a book from the Duke Hawkins range, and we've had some conversations with those guys as well. Really great bunch, and their books are fantastic as a modeler goes. But just, Dr. Google and searching images is your best friend for...
Because it's the images that modelers are mainly hungry for, really.
Correct, yeah. For the Duke Hawkins range is specifically geared towards that.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, they've done a great job.
But still no Norwegian internal pictures.
Well, you'll have to go to Norway.
That's right.
Yes. I can't afford to go there.
Hey,
there we go.
Well done.
Andy, what do you think keeps a Sea King so enduringly popular with enthusiasts and modelers, even decades after its introduction?
Well, I think so many nations have done it. It's a good 15, 17 nations. If we get into the Middle East and South Americans, a couple of operators who picked up a few in Asia Pac. So first of all, it's global. The variety of missions, fighting missions, rescue missions, and the flavors, as Brownie was alluding to. There's a whole host of schemes for every type. There's the nice, popular, bright rescues, and then there's the war fighters. Most people that I've spoken to, they've got a tail. They've got some sort of string or thread to the Sea King,
Yeah, and I think even people that are not helicopter enthusiasts, I mean, I certainly am not, but I know what a Sea King is when I see it.
Yeah, well, you're a good fella anyway.
Andy, would I be correct in saying the Belgian Sea Kings were never actually originally supposed to go to Belgium? Were they not from a Middle Eastern country that had an embargo put on them and they got diverted to Belgium?
I'd have to reference the books, but I do recall with some of the Westlands that went out to the Germans and the Belgians and the Norwegians and stuff, the rescues, the changes and whatnot. And yeah, I do recall something about that. There's usually a program where we're selling to a country and it goes sideways and someone else reappropriates them. So yeah, it probably would be a correct story.
Okay. Have you got anything else in pipeline that you're looking at other than Sea Kings?
Well, there's a long dreamers list, as all modelers who are true modelers have, either in a stash form or up in the brain. And so, yeah, I think, just this experience has been fantastic, the business side, but also just the community that's generated. There's two airframes that I'm partial to. The Australian Pig or the F111 at a 132 scale would be a fantastic. And I say that because it's retired and we have, got some contacts and access to an airframe to do the scanning.
Okay.
And then the other one would be the Canadian CF-101 Voodoo.
Oh, yes. Without question.
The access to that, we've been given a lot of support with the Shearwater Aviation Museum in Halifax on the Sea King project. Mark and Christine and the guys from the SAM Foundation have just been absolutely generous with their time and information. And I happen to notice they had a Voodoo parked out back. So if we have success commercially and we can reinvest, then those are two that are near and dear to my heart.
Which would you go first, the 101 or the treble one?
Jeez, I don't know. Probably the one that we could get access to first. It would have to be from a practical point of view, but from an emotional point of view, I've got a passion for the Tomcat, so I'd have to go with the F111.
Yes. I must admit, I was looking at some photographs of the production line of the first two F111Ks.
That was a British proposal, wasn't it?
That was the British ones, which got cancelled mid-production.
Weren't they supposed to replace the TSR2 or something?
Something there.
Getting the F111.
And ended up with the F4.
Yep. Not a bad trade anyway.
Not for us.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay, so if any of our benchmates want to find your products, where can they find them?
Jamscrew.com is where we have our shop. And then we've got our Facebook page, which is Westland Sea King Products, JPS, just out on the Facebook. So those are our two main communication platforms.
How long?
We opened up the idea and started work January 24. So we're sort of 18 months.
Fairly.
And really, I think we got our first traction with some of the initial parts about June. But we can track the visits and then things like websites and things. So it's been interesting to watch that journey. Slowly get the name out there prior to the main product getting ready.
Well, it's a name you're not going to forget.
It's odd, and that's part of when you're branding, you got to have something that is transferable. You got to put a business mindset onto things. And if we did some other aircraft, if we said, it's CBC Sea King Incorporated, well, then you're kind of tied with your brand.
Okay, so when can we expect the first 30-second Sea King to actually hit the shelves?
Yeah, we originally thought we'd have all 8 of them out last January 25, and then you start to get into it and you go, yeah, right, dreamer. So we thought we'd be ready to roll in December, but we're running into some delays with scanning the fuselage. So again, to loop back around to the question, we think early 26, so January, February, March. We've got a release idea to also make sure we're testing and creating a quality product. So we're going to do the Mark III, probably followed shortly with the HC4 and SH3s, and then we'll hit the 48, 43, 50, 41, and 124.
How many sections are you doing the fuselage?
Well, we've looked at how Hasegawa has done it. We've looked at how Airfix have done it. So we probably think it's going to be a 3-piece because of the boat hull. That seemed to be a smart way to divide it. We may end up with a left and right half. We'll see where the minimum seams are in hiding. That's always the bane of any modeler, is the bloody seams in the middle and sanding.
Well, I would have thought the limitations of 3D printing would have...
The reason we're not pursuing injection molding is cost of initial setup, but also the raised rivets. So this is the advantage of the accuracy, is we're doing things. And, we have a friend that's joined us from Sikorsky. George was a customer, and we sent him some large scale wheels. He was absolutely blown away. He's working on these parts, and he said, this looks like the real thing. You've even got the text on the rim about inflation, PSI and whatnot. You've captured all of that accurately. So, 48 scale, you can't see that, but it's there.
Well, Luke's joined us. He's built a couple of the Airfix ones for videos for his channel. There he is.
Hey, Luke.
I am around. I just didn't want to interject. Hello, it's great to meet you. Yeah, I've done a few Sea Kings in my time.
From your builds of the Airfix, is there anything that we need to be looking at for the 32nd that's going to be something we need to zone in on?
I think, as you highlighted, kind of a 3-piece or a singular piece hull is a pretty nifty idea. That works well, to be completely honest. Whenever I make them, I can't even get one down. Oh my goodness, I've got one here. One I prepared earlier. There we go. I think the Airfix one, it's pretty good in terms of design methodology. I think the only issue that always stands out to me on this one is your kind of front section up here. It's just an absolute dog on this kit. So if you can just kind of copy Airfix and sort that bit out, you're onto a winner, to be
100%.
honest.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. We appreciate you sharing that, Luke, because again,
No,
we're all builders and we all have different challenges and we see different things. And it's great to be able to get that advice to try and incorporate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And how are you planning to do the perspex?
Well, you've hit on an interesting subject. Any number of questions. First, finding people that can help us with this sort of thing. But I think we'll probably do a low yield injection molded. The other thing we have to pay homage to is what are people used to?
Yeah.
It's all well and good to get experimental, but if we're going to ask people to spend a lot of their hard-earned cash, we got to also, and when you open up an aircraft model kit, you expect that clear frame. So, yeah, that's probably what we'll do is we'll probably get a 500 or 1,000 piece mold done. They do these now, I believe, with 3D printing as well.
Yeah.
And that's quite economical for us to fund the startup on that.
Like, obviously, you've got so many different window variations for the Sea King as well, with the bulges on either side, etc. So you're going to have to do a sprue basically with every variation you can think of.
100%. And that's where, knowing we want to do the 8 and, again, the documentation, we kind of, okay, there's probably 3 generic window configurations, maybe with some oddities. And again, both Hasegawa and Airfix have done a pretty respectable job of trying to do that. So we've probably looked at them for inspiration and said, okay, well, what are the different flavors, and just put it all in one sprue.
Who were you going to go to for your decals?
There's an organization just north of Sydney called Ronin Graphics. We've been a customer, and we got put in touch with them through somebody else. Steve there, a great fellow, was really helpful. He's been running the business for a really long time, and he's been helping us. He's agreed to do the kit decals and his instruction sheet. We've just recently added his 48 scale mask set onto the website, and the work he puts in, the instructions, just fantastic product. And he's been very good to us with the quoting of that. So we're really excited to get to work with him.
Okay. It sounds like you've actually got it pretty well sewn up. So, Andy, obviously, our modelers over in Europe haven't had much exposure to your products yet. We've got Telford coming up very shortly. Any chance you could send a demo piece across before the main 30-second release so people can actually have a look at the products and get a feel for the quality?
I think that's a great idea. Immediately when you were talking about it, got some ideas.
Okay then, guys. Well, Andy, thank you very much for your time. Andy, thank you for your time, and thank you for getting up so early. I know it's just gone 5 a.m. over there.
My pleasure, guys. Really pleasure to meet you all, and I appreciate you guys having us out here and being able to talk a little bit about the project. It's a fantastic thing, and it's really become a community of modelers, which is what the hobby's all about. It's fantastic.
Our pleasure, my friend. And when the first kit is ready to be released, if you want to jump back on and we'll talk about a little more in detail the actual first release, you're more than welcome.
We'll take you up on that offer. Thank you.
Visit scalemodelpodcast.com, your hub for the best scale modelling pods, because finding great content shouldn't take longer than hunting for lost photo etch.
Fishcop Models, elevating scale modeling to an art form. Experience highly detailed 3D printed upgrade parts that bring true authenticity to your builds. Creators of the acclaimed Rolls-Royce Merlin engine set for both the Kotari Spitfire and the Dambusters set for the Border Models Avro Lancaster. For bespoke design and printing, our service is as precise as it is personal, all at a reasonable price. Please take a look at our products on www.fishcopcompany.de. Shipping is available for all of our products worldwide.
Brace yourselves. It's the Stash Inflation Report, the segment where wallet sweep, self-control collapses, and new releases thunder in like a tsunami of temptation.
Right then, benchmates, it's Boulders here, strapping in for another sky-high edition of the Stash Inflation Report. This week we've got a cracking lineup of new releases that span everything from the Cold War jet power to interwar elegance in the aviation sector, and even some resin rarities that you'll want to grab fast. Let's start with Kinetic, who are keeping their foot firmly on the throttle. They have just announced F-16C Aggressor/Adversary Vipers, part of their upgraded Gold Series lineup. These kits feature new parts and decals designed by Bullseye and Fightertown, covering markings for both US Air Force and US Navy adversary schemes.
Those aggressors play a vital role in the real-world training of flying in enemy camouflage and to simulate hostile aircraft and sharpen the skills of frontline fighter pilots. So if you ever wanted to build a jet in a wild splinter or desert scheme, this one's going to be right up your alley. And that's not all from Kinetic. They're also turning their attention to the Israeli Air Force, with 3 IDF/AF Viper variants expected to be around Christmas 2025. So we've got the F-16I Super, the twin-seat strike variant built for long-range missions, the F-16D Block 40, a backbone of the Israeli air power during the 1990s, and the F-16C Block 40, bringing that classic Barak look to your display case. All 3 continue Kinetic's Goal Series theme of high accuracy and fine detail, ideal for anyone wanting to recreate Israel's modern jets in action. Now Micromere, never a brand to follow a crowd, are back at it with another delightfully unusual subject, the Westland Pterodactyl 5 in 48 scale. For those unfamiliar, the Pterodactyl was a 1930s British experimental tailless aircraft, one of the earliest attempts at a flying wing. It's a wonderful oddball subject and absolutely classic Micromere territory. And speaking of news hot off the press, here's some breaking news for Scale ModelWorld 2025. Air Graphic has just unveiled a 1/72 AW159 Wildcat. And this one's full resin and 3D printed kit, including all the glaze parts. There's no donor kit required for this, and there's only 50 kits being produced. Available pre-order now for collection at the show. Considering their previous Lynx conversion sets sold out instantly, expect this one to vanish faster than you can say folded rotor blades. From resin to rivets, Tiger Head models are also in the headlines. They're releasing a 1/48 Spitfire Mark 9E, along with a second edition of their early Mark 5B kit. These Turkish Spitfires are based on the aircraft operated by the Turkish Air Force in the post-war years. A rare and fascinating subject. They'll be debuting at the Republic Modelers Ankara show in November 2025, with priority going to those who pre-order. So if you want a piece of Turkish Spitfire history, this could be your last chance to bag one. Moving on to Roden, who have announced a Boeing E3 Sentry AWAC in 1/144 scale during December. The Sentry, of course, is that unmistakable airborne radar platform, the eye in the sky that's kept NATO and coalition air forces coordinated for decades. A must for anyone into Cold War and Gulf War subjects. And if you prefer something a little more rugged and down to earth, Dora Wings have a real treat coming with their 1/72 de Havilland Beaver AL1, the British Army's variant of the legendary Canadian bush plane. The Beaver served everywhere from Aden to Borneo to the skies over Northern Ireland during the Troubles, hauling troops, mail and supplies into places most aircraft wouldn't dare to land. The 48 version will follow soon after, so whether you like your Beavers big or small, you'll be covered. Finally, from our friends at Luke Graf, something rather beautiful, the Hawker Fury in 1/32 scale. One of the most elegant biplanes ever built, the Fury was a symbol of British air power in the 1930s. Combining sleek lines and blistering speed for its era, Luke Graf is offering both British and Spanish variants, each with 4 paint schemes. Unique fuselages and tailored details like radiators and undercarriage differences. It's a stunning subject that bridges the gap between the Silver Wings era and the dawn of the modern fighters. So there you have it, from experimental flying wings to Cold War Sentinels, Israeli strike jets to elegant interwar biplanes. The skies are looking very full indeed. That's your aviation update for this week's Stash Inflation Report. Now let's see what Nev's got for the nauticals.
Cheers, Boulders. Moving on to ships, a brand new name has dropped its anchor on the scene. 3D Wild, this is an American manufacturer, making quite the splash with their debut releases. First up, they've gone big, and I mean really big, with a stunning take on the Iwo Jima class amphibious assault ship, representing the 1990s Gulf War era fleet. You'll be able to build the USS Iwo Jima, Okinawa, Guadalcanal, Tripoli, New Orleans, or Guam, all of which served as key platforms for helicopter and marine operations at the time. Now, the kits are being offered in 1/350 and 1/700 scale, but the full hull option, for now at least, is exclusive to the 1/350 release. Expect a price tag of around $288 if you buy direct from 3D Wild, with a rather tempting deck vehicle set also available. Expect cranes, forklifts, push tugs and more for an additional $50. It's a serious investment that will bring modern amphibious power to your display shelf. And if that wasn't enough to get your shipyard humming, 3D Wild has also turned its printers to history's first combat submarine, the CSS Hunley from 1864, the Confederate sub that made history as the first to sink an enemy warship. This one's available in 1 to 350, 1 to 200, 1 to 144, and 1 to 72. And that last one is going to be particularly special. The 72nd scale kit features a fully detailed interior with a removable side panel, making it a dream for scratch builders and diorama fans alike. At the other end of the spectrum, the 1 to 350 version comes in as a 2-pack, because let's face it, at that size, you'll probably lose one to the carpet monster before you get it painted. For European builders, good news. 3D Wild has partnered with Model Fun Shipyard in Italy, so you can save on shipping and customs headaches. The 72nd scale kit comes in at a very reasonable $40, which for such an innovative design is a real bargain beneath the waves. So whether your stash is docked in the 19th century or ready for Gulf War operations, 3D Wild has you covered. And by the looks of it, this is a new manufacturer that's already making waves. And now over to Dan, making landfall with the AFVs.
Thanks, Nevs. Here's what's new and shiny in the world of armour and history. First up, something that carried words instead of weapons. Mini-Art have released the KFZ2 Type 170VK, a compact German communications car that was absolutely vital for maintaining command and control areas across the battlefield. Based on the pre-Mercedes-Benz 170VK chassis, these vehicles were the lifeline between field HQs and front-line units, especially in fast-moving blitzkrieg operations. Reliable, adaptable, and often found bouncing through mud or snow with aerials bristling, they gave the Wehrmacht a crucial communications edge. This new Mini-Art kit captures that perfectly. Full interior and radio gear, a detailed engine, crisp photo etch, a sharp decal sheet to finish it off. Whether you're building a North African dispatch scene or a frozen Eastern Front diorama, it's a cracking release. Keeping the historical balance, we've got the US 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles Normandy 1944 Special Edition. Now, the Screaming Eagles hardly need an introduction. Dropping into Normandy in the early hours of D-Day, they fought their way through confusion, chaos, and fierce resistance to seize causeways and cut off German reinforcements. Mini-Art Special Edition gives us 5 figures, US paratroopers and German opponents, in superbly animated poses, complete with the correct late war webbing, M42 jump smocks, and plenty of attitude. Perfect for pairing with a Normandy hedgerow, wrecked half-track, or even a certain Band of Brothers style vignette. Next, a very British debut, and an exciting one. Inside the Armour 3, or ITA 3, have launched their very first figure sets sculpted by none other than Sergei Alenko, a name many of you will recognise from his incredible work with top miniature brands. These 135th Cold War British armoured crewmen are wearing the distinctive middle parka, that long quilted coat beloved by tankers from the 1950s through to the 70s. These lads look perfect alongside a Centurion, a Chieftain, a Stalwart, or even a Land Rover. They'll make their first appearance at IPMS Scale ModelWorld 2025 in Telford, so if you're heading there, stop by ITA 3's stand, have a word with Chris, and maybe grab a pre-release pair before they hit the website. Now for something absolutely massive, even in 1/72nd scale. Acom's new M911 Seahet with M747 trailer and M60A1 tank with ERA is one of those clearsome bench space first kits. The real M911 heavy equipment transporter was the muscle behind the US Army logistics during the Cold War, capable of hauling 60-ton tanks across continents. Pairing it with an M60A1 covered in explosive reactive armour makes this limited edition set a mini epic in its own right. Expect crisp moulding, clear parts, photo etch, and Tacom's usual Lincoln length tracks for that perfect mix of detail and sanity. Small scale, big presence. And finally, from war zones to crime waves, ICM's Ford Model A gangster car. Step back to 1930s America, Prohibition, the Great Depression, and a certain tendency for bank doors to be opened with a bit of lead persuasion. The Ford Model A became the go-to getaway car for everyone from John Dillinger to Bonnie and Clyde. Cheap, quick, and easy to modify. ICM's kit nails the atmosphere. Full interior, detailed engine, period weapons like Tommy guns and M1911s, and even decals for bullet holes and shattered glass. It's less Weekend at the Bench and more Public Enemy #1, a brilliant blend of history and storytelling in plastic form. So there you have it. From Cold War Parkers to classic gangsters, it's a stash that spans continents and decades.
Hi, it's Brownie here, just jumping in with a quick correction from our last episode. We mentioned that the Wingsy Kit's D3A Val was still at the design stage. In fact, it's already moved into full production, so expect to see it hitting the market much sooner than we originally thought. And this is most definitely going to be the definitive Val, replacing the Hasegawa offering from the 90s.
Come and meet the podcast team in Hall 1 at Telford. Display items from our supporters Phase Hanger, Fish Cop, Jamscrew, and demos of ammo products.
We are joined by the elite from IPMS UK. We have Paul Regan, President, for a return visit from episode 4. Welcome back, Paul.
Thank you. Nice to be here again, guys.
We're also joined by Rich Middleton, Scale ModelWorld Show Manager and Vice President. What I want to know is how much vice is there in IPMS? That's another question entirely. And you also have Andy Brown, the Competition Secretary.
Good evening.
So hopefully we will be able to answer all the questions we have for the show and a little bit more. So we'll dive in with the first question. So reference planning for the show. Can you give us an idea of how far in advance planning for Scale ModelWorld begins and what the biggest logistical challenges are if bringing all of it together each year?
So in terms of advance, if I tell you we're already planning for 26, does that give you a clue?
Just a bit.
Basically, this year's show will be distributing the price list for the traders to next year. That's already in hand, and that'll be a publicised during the event. So we've already started down that track. Basically, that's to enable the traders to get a deposit down, whatever, under one roof. Makes our life a bit easier, and we'll go from there.
So with that, you've obviously got the date for next year.
Yes, we do, which off the top of my hand will probably be the 7th and 8th. It's on the webpage.
Okay. And what logistical challenges do you have in putting the show on?
The Scale ModelWorld is like the Bolton show as an example, just bigger. The numbers are bigger. The requirements are the same. So you're dealing with traders, you're dealing with dealing with exhibitors, you're dealing with the public, and you're dealing with the venue. The principles are the same. It's just a scale. With Telford, obviously it's a professional venue, so they have their own requirements that we have to comply with.
Yeah.
We've obviously been there for quite a while now, so we do understand each other reasonably well. That doesn't mean to say that I don't upset them down every year on something or other, but if you don't push, you don't get. But generally speaking, logistically, it's the numbers. We've got over 200 exhibiting groups. We've got 120 traders plus. Obviously, the numbers through the doors over 2 days is quite significant. And then you're talking about tables and chairs, which we hire in. So they're not the centres. We have to hire those, and they occupy two 40-foot trailers. stacked to the roofs, tables and chairs. So that's something like 1,600 tables and equivalent chairs.
How long does that take to unload that?
We're quite lucky in that with the company we deal with, they'll arrive usually on the Thursday. The centre will offload them onto the floor, and then when I provide them with the relevant information, they'll distribute across the 3 halls to make our life easier to start erecting them. So it's spread out. It's not a sort of all-in-one-go kind of hit. And then these days, we actually employ the centre to crash down the tables because they're used to doing. And they can get, that hall would be clear of tables, depending on when the traders get out, by 7 o'clock in the evening.
That's impressive.
It is impressive, and then we're gradually chipping away, getting shorter and shorter every year. So it's becoming a well-oiled machine.
Sadly, that's the effects of an ageing society, that we lack the bodies and manpower to be able to do it ourselves nowadays. So we're going to break people, frankly.
Yeah.
We've got on an evening.
Well, I was going to say, how many people actually volunteer and help with the setting up phase of the show?
So we start setting the tables out on Friday morning, and we'll have a smaller collection of people initially. But again, the tables are mostly erected before 11 o'clock. We'd start maybe 9:30. But we have a good team. We have one dedicated group, Abingdon, that deal with the competition area, which is another 100 plus tables. Then the volunteers that have stepped forward to help on a Friday all set the 3 halls up. It's mostly branches from all over the country, to be fair. Lancashire do their fair share, as do many others.
How many guys do you normally get?
I think it's in the region of about 50 people in them all.
Okay.
That's including the EC members that are there as well, but in round numbers, if you said 50, that's not unreasonable. The whole show is totally dependent on the volunteers that come forward. We can't thank them enough. We're their show, they put the effort in.
No, as well, in case this comes across the other way, we don't really need a lot more people for that morning shift.
People just getting away, won't they, really?
Yeah.
It's dangerous, isn't it? We need to keep that team quite small and dedicated because it doesn't take that long. But obviously we need people through the whole weekend. That's just the setup team. The bulk of the volunteers are then through the rest of the weekend from Friday lunch onwards.
Does it tend to be the same guys most year in, year out?
Oh, it's...
Yes.
Yeah.
But they know what they're doing, so it makes things easier for everybody.
We tend to have specialists in different areas, don't we? Abingdon, you mentioned, they're contest specialists, really. They're Andy's team. Me and Rich really don't touch them very much at all. Farnborough, absolutely brilliant on Dory type things. Anything to do with admissions, they're all over that. You know, there's other examples too. You know, it's the sort of thing makes it so easy for us, relatively, because we don't have to change things every year. They just come and get on with.
Well, just coming back to next year's date, staying on the 7th and 8th of November.
Fantastic.
Look to the final web page.
So, this year's highlights. What's new for this year's show? Are there any fresh features or special displays that visitors should look for? Especially me.
What do you want to see, me?
I want to see some top-notch ships.
Okay, on the ship front, we've got the usual guys. They're all collated together at the bottom of Hall 2, as usual. We don't have the Mulberry Harbour this year. I'm not quite sure what the story behind it is, but they're not coming in the specialist guy that was displaying. But the roadshow that comes along, Chris and Ray, they're back again. They're quite a sizable display. In the foyer, we were hoping to get a rather large Lancaster bomber radio control aircraft. Apparently, it's too large to fly under British radio control law. ICACA. So that's not happening. We're going to satisfy ourselves with a large-scale radio control fork instead.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
The tables with the theme this year are commemorating the Battle of Britain. So that's a big display in the Hall 3 as you arrive, so directly opposite the county cafe area. It should have been on display in 2020, but of course we didn't have a show in 2020 thanks to COVID. So 5 years later, they're putting it on again, adding a file onto the end of all the scripts.
More than 5 or more models from what I'm...
Well, yeah. I'm always getting a daily email from them in terms of how they're evolving. But
the trial ran it at Ducks for their Battle of Britain air show, and which was a 36-foot frontage display, and that was merely a fraction.
Yeah. They have 60 foot at Telford.
Yeah.
No, that's uneasy. That's going to be quite sizable, an impressive display, I'm sure. And they're covering just about every aspect of the conflict. It's not just a series of Spitfires and Hurricanes and What else has we got going? We've got some long-distance travellers coming from the trader front. So, Qatari, however you pronounce their name, they will be coming up from New Zealand.
Oh, we've heard of them.
I thought you might have been, and I know you spoke to Mark on one of his shows. So he's coming over, and I think they'll be talking a lot about the Halifax when they're over here. We've got Tsukimura coming back. First time since COVID. That was difficult getting out of Japan post-COVID rather than anything else. And they were very, very tight on their travel arrangements. Edward, Special Hobby, CMK on the Special Hobby stand. Copper State, another company called Dynamo coming over with Copper State. So that'll be pretty impressive, I'm sure. People would be glad to see them. But we've got a good range of overseas guys coming. The overseas area is as popular as ever, so quite a few from around Europe as usual. And we've got a special group from representing Ukraine this year as well, which will be very good. So it's pretty impressive. ICM won't be over on their own stand this year, but they will be on the Hobby Company stand because Hobby Company are now representing ICM officially. So they'll be on the Hobby Co stand. And all the other usual suspects. Japan will be there in force. They will be having a display area from AK. So somebody's coming over from AK to do a bit of demonstration. We have 3D Gizmo coming on the Froome stand. So they'll be sharing that space as well. And Froome will be doing a bit of demo work on there as well. There's no large-scale exhibits this year. Whether there are to be any new launch announcements, I'm always in the dark. So I can't tell you.
Fortunately, we did. We've already recorded a show for Revell. And at midday on Saturday, a special episode will be dropping, which will have the first 4 months of new releases from Revell, which they're also announcing at the show.
Tell them nothing, Pike.
So yes, we do know what's coming from Revell for the start of next year, but...
You want that sofa on for the weekend or not? I mean, let's put that out there. That is something new this year. For the first time, you guys are going to be there, effectively, live recording.
Yes.
Or however you call it, from the show itself. So that's going to be something different.
And we've also got mobile packs, which we will walk around and look at different band SIGs. So I'm speaking with Chris, reference model cars, etc. So we're going to go and actually look at the car section. And I'm sure Dan, you get down the microphone with Dan, he's going to go and look at the boats now. So he seems to have gone nautical. Yeah, we're going to actually split it up, but we're going to actually go to different parts of the show and actually talk about it in front and also with the branches themselves. But going forward, just going off topic a little bit, the IPMS Dispatcher part of the show is going to be expanding post-Telford. We're going to be featuring a branch per episode. We're going to be also featuring SIGs as well. So we're going to be looking at getting more information from the branches to actually talk about what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they meet, etc., to try and see if we can entice a few more members to come across.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Right, good. That sounds great. So the main special thing is us, Brownie.
Well, yes.
Yes. Only feature.
I'm really looking forward to the show. This is going to be my first Telford, so I'm very excited. I'm counting the days like an advent calendar. Competition tables and competition judging. The tables are always a huge draw. How has the judging process evolved in recent years? And are there any changes or new categories being introduced this year?
Good question. I think this is my 4th show at the helm, so I've got to take responsibility for the last 4 years of changes, good and bad. The principal development with the judging, so just physically from the judging point of view, has been really trying to reconstitute a credible team, because the year I took over from Tony Horton was a COVID era, and then we've had a lot of judges that either, to be blunt, died, or in that sort of age cohort where they don't really want to come to the event because of the exposure risk for them if it got any preconditions that made them vulnerable if they pick up COVID or something else. So that took out quite a substantial number of experienced judges from the team. So it's been a case of trying to progressively rebuild it. What I've been a bit reluctant to do is just drag people in, because there's nothing worse than investing your life and soul into a model for a competition and then having a half-wit judge it for you. There needs to be some basis in terms of, some credibility in terms of judging. That's been the principal focus for me immediately after the automated entry system. Because when I took over, it was quite literally take a form out of issue 4 of the IPMS magazine, fill it out, send it to my home, and then I manually transpose all that data into a spreadsheet. Now, given that I'm based in Belgium and have been for the last 7 years, I ended up in the first year in this farcical situation where I had somebody going and opening the entry forms at my house in Lincolnshire, scanning them on a phone, sending them to me, and then transposing. It was ludicrous. So the biggest change, I think, and the favourable feedback I've had is I introduced a Google Forms-based system where you just put your details in and it collates a form. So that's taken a huge amount of work out of it. To try and address the point directly, I've refined the rules in recent years. The top 2 issues really have been the contention around standard kits, because for quite a few years there've been teeth ground about the fact that with the proliferation of kits like Edouard Trophy Pack and the multimedia kits that you see, the standard kit classes were always really designed for people to build from the box. I mean, lots of people don't want to go into the detailing models. Lots of people don't have the time. There's been points in my life where I've been a busy professional and I want to see progress in a model without spending weeks doing a cockpit. So I was keen to try and, should we say, regain that standard kit class, the character of it. So a couple of years back, I stopped these Profi Pack type, these multimedia kits. So essentially now it's just the base polystyrene components without getting overly technical with the language. So I think we've restored that, which has been quite helpful. This year, there'll be a change that 3D printed kits will no longer be eligible for the scratch build class. That's something I'm going to have to work on over the years, because I think for the time being, it's probably unfair for somebody to download a digital render of a kit, print it at home or have it printed for them, and then put that into a scratch built class. The challenge will come, I think, as we see 3D develop more in the hobby. I'm seeing it now. I mean, one of the sponsors this year of the competition is Aladdin Model, aladdinmodel.com, which is almost like a sharing group, a resource for 3D renders. It's an incredible facility. But the challenge will be that when people start to do their own digital renders, and it's happening already, and then print from it and has to enter it into the scratch build competition, I'm not sure I'll have much of a defense to say no, because it's another skill, isn't it, that's really evolving within our hobby. So that's going to be an interesting challenge in the future. But for the time being this year, 3D printed models will not go into the scratch build classes. I'll have to go into the any source kit detailed or any source kit converted. And I've had no pushback so far from the several hundred entries. So we'll see how we go.
Is it worth looking at a category for the 3D print going forward?
Quite possibly. I think it's all down to the level of subscription, because the one thing I'm keen to avoid is a dilemma where you create a new class before there's any momentum behind it, and then you end up with a class with 3, 4, 5 models in. And there's no, at a national level, I think people need to know that if they walk away with a gold, silver, bronze or a finalist medal, that's a credible award. That they can say, that should be within our hobby, I think. If you know somebody had won an award at Scale ModelWorld, that should be an endorsement of their modelling skill.
Agreed.
If I allow any dilution of either the numbers or the quality within the classes where the judging is concerned, then it ultimately undermines the credibility of the competition and jeopardizes the level of subscription in future. It's funny from the outside, and I'm guilty of saying when I was looking to take this over from Tony, I didn't underestimate the challenge, but I certainly didn't identify some of the more, should we say, nuanced and controversial politics that play out in the competition world.
Andy, talking of politics and contentious issues, can you, I don't want to doorstep you with this, can you just add some clarity to the issues that have recently happened overseas? And you please confirm the position with regards to models being picked up for judging.
Yeah, it's never been allowed. It's briefed explicitly at the 11 o'clock Saturday morning competition secretary brief. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I have had a couple of individuals over the last couple of years that didn't attend the brief and then proceeded to pick a model up in order to inspect it. I was all characteristically diplomatic as a Mount unit on those two occasions. I'll be far less diplomatic this year if I see it. Yeah. They won't judge again if I see people pick the models up. And actually, last year, I introduced a judge's badge so that I know people have been to the pre-brief. Because unless they've been there, they can't collect their badge. So I want to try and avoid that. And you'll never fix it. I mean, you've got to remember that I am relying on the goodwill of volunteers here. So there's only so much leverage you can apply to these individuals. It's down to a bit of personal integrity that they respect the job they're doing, they respect the modelers who the work they're judging, and hopefully they do the job. They were 2 foreign judges last year, and there's always the chance that they've come from, should we say, a culture where that's considered normal. But it just doesn't seem to be very sensible. As a model builder, I think we'd all have a good idea how to pick a model up. But I've seen people pick my models up before and cannot see minuscule details. You know, I saw some the other day go for a starfighter that I've got, right? And it's got microscopic little AOA veins on the front of it. And they were just about to put their fingers on and crush them. So it's really easy. Just don't pick them up. That's what the judges get briefed, and that's what they will forcibly be told to do this year.
I hope you went man Conan.
I would go mode Conan. I've got my mode switch set to standby.
Just a thought for Paul and for the overseas branches or overseas organisations when they're actually applying to become an IPMS branch, etc., or ask for the blessing from the Godfather, as it were. Is it worth putting into it that from the UK, judging rules state no models are to be picked up, and see if it actually ripples out that way? Because I know in the States, it's a massive problem and has been for some time. I know the IPMS nationals in the States, the rule now is models aren't picked up after what happened a couple of years ago. But branches, etc., in the States are allowed to do their own thing. And it's been an issue recently when the same things happened all over again. It's fired off on the internet all over again.
It is difficult for us. We don't see all these bases. We're not at them all. No. But particularly, we don't have any real authority over these people. No. And mores and processes and protocols are different in each country. As some of you know, I was in Belgium a couple of weeks ago at their annual show, basically. And the brief there was, it did actually mention don't pick up models. That was actually included in it. But, you know, their approach and their way they work is different than ours. And I think that there's an element of that is good for variety. We're not Big Brother, but it's the sort of thing we try to spread the word on with our friends out of.
Best practice. Okay, well, with that, I think we will draw a line under the competition. Unless Andy, you haven't got anything else you wanted to add in?
No, that's fine. I think I've had enough airtime, Wally.
Okay, Martin. Andrew.
Funny that you mentioned the IPMS in the US, because that's where I live. So I've only been to American IPMS shows, not to British ones. And I see there that every year the Nationals is at a different venue in a different part of the country. Now, you guys have your event at the same place every year. So that's really interesting to me. And that's something I think has been discussed over here in the US. But with costs and logistics changing every year, are you taking steps to keep it sustainable financially and environmentally as well?
We certainly do our best. Logistically, we're a smaller country. I think that's the safe thing. If you held it in the same place in the States, I can see that a lot of people would be disenfranchised effectively. If it was always in Florida, I'm saying that out just for the hell of it. Yeah. People who live in California and Chicago and stuff, they're going to really, really struggle to get to that on a regular basis. Our rules, in fact, and it is written down that we have to hold our event within the middle of the UK broadly, and Telford meets that requirement very well. So logistically, nowhere in this country is more than sort of, I don't know, most I'm going to say is 4-hour drive and you can get there pretty much. That gets you across a state in the US, doesn't it? So that certainly makes it easier for us. As Rich alluded to in his comments, the fact of working with the same venue over and over really helps in terms of making the show work and keeping it moving forward. And from a financial point of view, we rely on being in a contract with the venue. on a rolling basis for 3 years at a time. So we've already got 27 penciled in. We're not actively trying to sell it yet, but that's penciled in for a date so that we know where we're going to be and when we're going to be. Because so many people want to plan their time ahead, over from the US particularly, and other parts of the world. They need to know where and when so they can plan that. Quite a few guys do seem to think of it as a bucket list trip, and don't go to UK Nationals at least. And they turn up, in February, some of them turn off every blooming year, which is just an incredible tribute to the show. But it's a medium-sized business to operate this. We are a limited company. We have to be. And we sign contracts for the sort of thing, and as Rich described, 2 entire truckloads of tables. The delivery charge alone is 4 figures, I think, from memory.
That's right.
Let alone the actual hire cost. The venue itself is a fair-sized percentage of a house in this country. And certainly the 3-year contract, you could buy a reasonable-sized house in this country for that amount. But we're tied into it on both sides. They've got to hold the dates for us. We commit we're going to use them, and we're on a rolling price. So we've not suffered any of the shocks that some shows have had of their venue suddenly turning around and doubling the price overnight, or saying they can't have the venue at all. It allows us to do the sort of planning Rich is referring to, because otherwise we just could not run a show this big. Completely take my hat off to those giants in the States who do it every year from scratch, almost.
Try and pass on everything they've learned.
Of course.
Yeah, it doesn't always look that way. And each venue has their own separate issues. So it would be great. As you say, it's because of the size of the country. But even having said that, the Nationals tend to be on one side of the country or in the middle. I didn't even know when they come out to the west. You're saying how far to drive. The last Nationals I went to, I drove for 10 hours. It took 2 days to get there and 2 days to get home.
Wow. That's commitment. I mean, over here, we get people saying, oh, I'd go, but it's too far from London.
Yeah, well, one of my club outlets is it's a 140-mile round trip for a club night.
We get people complaining it's too far to go from Manchester, so...
Yeah. And I'm sure that's true everywhere. I'm not speaking on any individual people. People just want these things on their doorstep, and sadly, we just can't do that. The size and scale of it, much as it is in America, I guess, there aren't that many places that can host us. We do keep an eye open. We have meetings with other venues to make sure we're aware of what's out there, which our own venue know about, Charles Water Events know about, but we do that as well, because obviously it's a lot of money, and it's not me and Rich and Andy's money. It's the members' money. So we do our best to keep it under control, but it's a balancing act every time. Is the venue big enough? Is it cheap enough? Has it got hotels near it? Can we park easily? Have we got access? Can we get vehicles in and out to unload big loads and things? Has it got meeting rooms? Can it provide services like PA systems and audio visual if we need it? All that kind of stuff. There just aren't an infinite number of venues that can do that.
Do you have any idea of what the show does for the local area, the economy? Do you have any number? Have you had any correspondence with local authority?
It's a staring amount of money that it brings into the local economy, undoubtedly. Years ago, we used to be supported to some degree by the council when we first moved in there. They actually had a promotions office who helped people to find hotels and bed and breakfasts and things like that within the area. But like many things, that died off quite a few years ago. I think the local authorities are probably a little bit blasé about it because that venue is there. And it brings things, when we're not there, it's not empty. There'll be something in it next week and the week after and the week before that. Literally, we were talking to them this morning. We had our last pre-show Zoom this morning to go through a few details. The people are moving out on Thursday for us to move in on Friday. But relationships mean they're allowing us to do the unloading that Richard referred to on Thursday. So there's an area we can use to put tables into, so we're ready. Stuff will be arriving probably starting next week from some of the overseas giants, and they accept that for us. It is definitely a 7-figure sum, but it brings into that area, unquestionably.
It was common a couple of years ago, if you recall, wasn't there, from the tech management from the local shops and businesses about how much they liked the character of the people that were attending the ball, which compared to some of the events that go on there, I can only guess, but that's got to be a good factor as well.
It is. Yeah, we're a good broad mix of people, and invariably we will be going out certainly Saturday night, most people will be having some sort of meal or entertainment Saturday night, lot Friday, some Sunday. All of that brings revenue into the local area. You only have to look around that quarter around the venue that's now full of restaurants and things like that. And all the little things, the garages and the supermarkets and shops. And let's be honest, the other halves will go off and wander around the shopping centre, I'm sure, during the day. All that. And literally filling up hotels. The venue itself owns 3 hotels, which are full pretty much from the day after the previous show. And it's quite hard at times to get a room in the area. That's revenue at time of year when a lot of those wouldn't have that much revenue.
Yeah, I've actually chosen an Airbnb and explained to the people that own it what I was coming for. And she's like, oh yeah, we've heard that goes on there. She said, you're the first person we've ever had that's coming for that. I'll be honest with you, I don't really have any other reason to go to Telford, but there we go. So, I mean, like you say, I'll be going there. I'll probably go and have something to eat and put the money into the area.
All of that builds the area. And, the higher costs of tables, casual staff that come in and work for us, the table dismantling tea, the caterers within the venue, all of that is local employment for the venue. That's how those venues operate. They have a core team of however many, probably about 100 permanent employees. But when shows are on, that number will double and treble because they were the ones doing the catering, the car parking, the security. Yeah, we do contribute. We pay VAT and everything. So we contribute directly to the taxpayer. And then how much do you spend with the traders to help the economy go round?
Yeah, I'm claiming the fifth on that one.
So talking to traders, the trader areas are often the heartbeat of the show. How do you balance attracting major manufacturers with giving the smaller independent traders a platform?
Great question. Right.
I'd say that one. It's driven initially by the pricing structure. We don't hide the prices, but what the traders buy, they're all available on the web page as soon as they're published. They're not linear. Just because you've got 2 tables doesn't mean you've got twice the price of the single table. They're done that way to benefit the smaller traders. It's an exponential curve. It's growing the bigger the table you have. And that's done to encourage the smaller tables. It's the 2 effects. One, it obviously gives them the encouragement to actually take a table. And even the single table is not cheap. It's over £200 for the weekend. We increased the rate initially. I understand it, go back many moves now, that it was done to discourage the small traders taking on too big a pitch. They can get over carried away with thinking, oh, I can go to 3 tables, I've got to 4 tables and stretch themselves too far. But it's done to try and encourage them to stay within their means because they've got to cover their costs. So it's not just the table cost, it's not just for stock value, but they've got to get to the venue. They've got to find somewhere to stay. If there's 2 or 3 people, that's obviously 3 times that rate, so on and so forth. The costs soon add up. The table is not cheap, but it's not the only cost they have to bear over the weekend. So that's how we drive it from the start point. Trying to get a balance across types of traders is quite challenging, because we can only respond to the invitation or the request that we get to trade. I will go out and look for people if I think we've got an opportunity. Make a mistake, last year we had 3 craft light type people. We've only got 2 again this year, so that brings it back into a balance. We have 2 hairy stick welders rather than having too many, because then at least there's competition within the hall, and they all know each other anyway through their other activities. Same with the big traders, Jadland, Wonderland, Hannants, Robbers for Sale. They all know each other. It's not just our environment they're operating in. They'll probably go and have a beer halfway through the weekend as well. Let's see each other. It's just the other shows, those that do them. So they all talk. They all have that sort of banter side of things as well. So trying to get the balance right is something I'm conscious of. And part of the learning curve is knowing not to put 2 booksellers next to each other. That kind of distribute them across the hall so they're not all together if we can avoid it. Not always possible, but I do try. And then, of course, I've got to actually know who that trader is, which is not always the case, particularly if it's not the sort of thing I'm into. You struggle with sort of the figure guys, for instance, but that's not my thing. But we've got to a point where I will ask them, does this work for you? If not, let me know, we can sort it out. And that's where, since I've been sort of running the show, it's always been to try and accommodate the traders as best we can to give them the best possible grounding for the show. I never tell a trader what they can sell. That's to them to determine instead. So when I get some people complaining about trader A complaining about Trader B. I said, look, that's his business and your business, and that's how I want to. You know that coming. That's for you to accommodate one way or the other.
I have plenty of that as well for the Bolton show, because obviously I'm the show manager for that.
Yeah.
I've had a few to feel but it's just like, that's your business, that's his business.
Yeah.
That's that. But it works out in the end because they go, oh, I didn't realise they were doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And it sort of diffuses it, but it's just when people see other people, like on the list, you put all the traders out and all the clubs like, well, why would we put me next to them? But you're two sort of different things, even though, you're doing resin. They're doing resin, but it's something completely different. And you just got to appease to the people as well, the traders, the clubs. So it can be difficult.
It's communication. It's fundamental business. It's supplier relationship, customer relationship work. You got to work with the guys to make sure everybody's happy as best you can. If everybody's happy before they get to the show, makes when it that to the show a lot easier.
Does indeed, absolutely. Regarding future development, are there any long-term ambitions or developments for Scale ModelWorld? Perhaps expanding the format, adding more interactivity, or exploring new partnerships?
Well, I'll kick off for, and you can fill the gaps in. In terms of expansion, I think we have possibly reached a limit, because at the end of the day, nothing is getting cheaper. So the price of the venue is not going down, and the cost of that venue have to be borne. That fundamentally is borne by the traders, although we do now charge more for membership to try and put some more money back in from the membership to running the show. Membership is under constant review because we know we're going to have to address it more frequently than perhaps we have done. But the traders are also reaching a threshold where a number of them have gone to the wall this year. Their costs are not getting any better across the piece. The price of the units that they sell is not getting any cheaper. And it's becoming very difficult out there in the market. Some are really struggling this year. One of the traders told me they've had to let people go because they've hit an absolute sort of threshold where they're going to have to start considering how many shows they do. Do they downsize? Do they take a smaller stand and this kind of thing? So in terms of expansion, the only route through realistically is more traders if they can afford it. And that's the ongoing battle and challenge that we had. A lot of traders had said we don't want to come to Telford, which is fair enough. But finding new traders is my challenge as the show manager. I'm the one that goes out there trying to encourage new people to come along. We do get people coming on and say, can we have a pitch, which makes my life easier, obviously. But they're not falling out of the trees just to ask the question. What we are struggling with is we never have reduction in the number of people wanting to display on the tables, the SIGs and the branches. If anything, we have to manage that. We've got no capacity to increase that realistically, safely, or to the point, and still provide a variety of stuff that we do. We are managing the creation of new SIGs particularly, but branches to some extent, to ensure that we don't have too much duplication. So everything has its place. We come back to the purpose of a SIG in that regard. I did a piece in the magazine a little while ago, but basically they're supposed to provide support from a specialist interest perspective. So if you're building an F-16 and you're struggling with something, you should approach the F-16 SIG for that help and advice, and they should provide it. That's how it should work. The reality is that many of these SIGs are created for exhibition space. It's got their help. We're not stupid. That's why they do it. We have to be mindful when people want places to what purpose and how can they contribute to the society as a whole, and what specialist information can they provide other modelers to support that. Changing venues, as Paul said earlier, we have this year had 2 or 3 other venues we've been looked at, spoken to. The balance to get what we need at the right price is the challenge. As Paul said, there's not that many options that we have that can offer the floor space we need and the supporting structures that we need. So that is a repeated exercise, but we've come to the point that we're currently happy where we are, given the current options available. In terms of the internal scope of the show, there's various areas I'd like, and if put into the wind, as it were, some ideas. I'd like to have more demonstration space, but have them also recorded and projected onto a screen. I know they do that. Was it SMC they did that? Possibly the show that you had to call. I can't remember what he said to you. But
the plastic and steel, but I've certainly seen them in the past in Europe.
SMC.
That's in America.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing I want, just sign encourage and record those show and tells to help support the society, put them on the webpage, share them with you guys so that we can say, look, these are the guys that want to share their abilities with you. Come and see. We looked at it from another perspective. If you ask the wrong people the wrong questions, we'll leave it at that. They want paying to turn up. So they won't come and do it for free, which is a consideration, and then we start adding to the costs. Do you charge people for the demonstration, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another rabbit hole to get sucked into if you're not careful. So it is a balancing act. Now, that's obviously an area of opportunity for sponsorship and that sort of thing, which is another area for the show itself rather than the competition speciality that Andy's been focused on, where we have scope to do something. If we can find somebody that can provide something for us or cover the costs of something for us to put into the show, that's another area we can be investigating. In truth, the last 5 years, it's been about recovery from COVID. Well, I think last year we got there. It was a slow old boat business to get there, but we're back there now. So now we need to look, right, how do we evolve and grow in a holistic kind of way rather than purely geographical and physical one? So what can we offer better and more of within the show itself to heighten the experience? I mean, we've got some talks again this year coming through from a couple of authors. So that, again, adds a bit of interest, and work with the book retailers to see who they've got coming into the show, can potentially give us an hour of their time. So we've got a couple more of those. We've got a different talk from the Sand guy and the U2. And then we've also got a guy coming in to talk about the BF110. You've got a book that's just come out, so he will give an hour's talk on that with the Back of Britain display as well.
And that promises to be a really good talk. I met the chap at a show, I can't remember where. The book is not really my thing, but it's cost me 50 quid. They've got the book now. He's such an enthusiast. He clearly knows everything there is to know about this. To hear him talk about it, probably won't make it, but if it could be recorded, I'd love to listen to it later. These are the kind of things we're looking to do.
Oh, sounds interesting.
If I can jump in with a couple of things I would point to. I think already Andy has mentioned one of the focuses we have to look at, which is the way 3D print moves into the hobby. We've got a machine that the show is still relevant to that. And this year I know there are some 3D print people are attending, aren't there? As traders, Rich? There's people who can do scan and make, and the people who do these figures that, they can do a mini U to put in your Spitfire or whatever.
Model U are the guys that normally go around the railway shows, but they're coming to our show. They're bringing their scanner booth with them. For a contribution, I'm quite sure they'll tell you how much. They can scan you in the uniform, so you could be a pilot if you wish in your own aircraft.
Which is, certainly, we're not trying to be stagnant and stand still. We've dabbled in the past with wargaming to some degree, particularly Games Workshop stuff.
We have a wargame trader coming as well this year.
Exactly. So we're not anti anything. We welcome everything, really. But we're not a jack of all trades. If we dilute ourselves too much, then we'll lose what we are now. But as Rich says, I agree entirely with what he said. I think we've capped out. I don't think the show can get bigger. Financially, logistically, operationally, it's as big as it probably can get. And the pressure is really coming from the balance that the way we operate the show traditionally, and still do, is we try to make about a third of the space is traders, a third is the displays, and a third is other things, for want of a better term, like the competition, the make and take, the given model, and you'll have the administrative stuff, that kind of thing, so that we keep that balance so that it doesn't get out kilter. Unfortunately, that's why it has to be an IPMS show. It is the members' event, and that's why the contest, you have to be an IPMS member to enter it, and barring the very odd exception, you have to be IPMS members to exhibit and to have a stand there. Otherwise, we'd have another 200 model clubs and individuals who'd want to come along and take space off us. And sadly, space costs money in these kind of venues. Again, stopping the venue, just for a sec again on that, we are at a level where to run the size of event we're looking at is the sort of places you would see a party conference, one of the major political conferences. That's the kind of venues we're looking at. They're really big, serious places, but there aren't that many. So it makes it difficult. But if things come along, we want to do. That's why there's no full-size exhibits this year, really. They distract from the event. They're nice to have. If someone will provide one free of charge, I'm sure we'll find a space for it. But we're certainly not in the market of paying an attraction like that to come along, because it doesn't pay for itself in terms of the footfall through the door, which is pretty static.
Can I just ask, after each show, how does the membership grow? What kind of percentage? Obviously, you must get people rejoining and new members.
It grows before.
Oh, really? Oh, of course.
The peak is now. Membership team are...
Yeah, just put things in perspective, Mark. COVID, the membership, the COVID year when there was no show, the membership reduced by 25%.
Yeah, well, big chunk.
But now it's about in the nine.
What is the numbers now?
5,200 and some odd. We'll call the number when we get to the end of the month, because that's when we'll know what it is.
Itch, is it worth mentioning what area we require for the show? Because I only say that because when I first became aware of how big a space we require, and then browsed other conference facilities around the country that I thought might be good alternatives, it's staggering to realise how few can cope with this.
Just bear with, I've got the number written down in my little book of words. Now,
it's in the order of 12,000 square metres, isn't it?
It's
for the show itself, plus the cafes and the front.
Buried, it's there somewhere.
You did well to survive COVID then, didn't you, really?
When we came back from the first year, I think everybody was just relieved to go to a show. Tremendous sense of, we're back. Thank God for that. We've got through it. Let's enjoy this. To be fair, since that point, the show had been enjoyable. Everybody had been there for the best of reasons. New friendships, to reacquaint with people how you see it. So it's heartening when you see, I think it's about 100,000 square feet. That's the number I've got in my mind.
I was thinking that's 3.5.
That's just the hall space.
And then the contest is about 1,500, isn't it? Yeah. And then like 12, 11.5, 12.
Mark, I feel an obligation to chip in here because I know Paul would say for himself. In direct answer to your question about how do we survive, and I don't have a dog in this fight. I came to the executive committee as COVID hit us. There's one reason why we're still here, and that's because Paul, during his tenure as president, built contingency into the finances of the organisation. We would be history, 5 years ago history now, if that contingency hadn't been built in. And I think sometimes the exec committee members do get a little bit stick, and that's in the nature of the job. But as president, the target's always on you. These things get forgotten. For those of us that really love, for me, it's such an important issue going to Telford. The idea of it not being there for the last 5 years is almost inconceivable. There's principally one reason why it is. And now it's not my job to blow smoke up Paul's backside, but it's unfair to overlook that in the light of a direct question like the one you just posed. So, there you go.
Yeah, I've found my numbers. It's 106,000 square feet just for the 3 halls, which is about 9,800 square metres.
Yeah. I'd encourage you to go and have a look at some of the other venues around the country, the bigger venues. With our conurbations, you'd be astounded at how few can cope with that.
Yep. I didn't even know Manchester lad knew that word.
That's why Joe do the opposite last week for me now. Raise the bar there, Mark. It's raise our bar.
Yeah, I know Mike has looked round and looked for places in Bolton in the past, and there's nothing in the northwest really, is there? Apart from what you've got.
I think for where we have our Bolton show up at the, what's it called now?
Shoes Community Stadium.
We are looking at trying to expand in the future. And what we didn't know, and we've been there quite a few years, is that they've actually got 1 or 2 other areas of the stadium that they can release. And obviously, we've not talked price yet, but it's one of those things in negotiation terms, adding extra value to our Bolton show. Because we'd like to think of ourselves, especially with Boulders, as the little baby brother of Telford.
Back of that, we've actually been asked whether we'd consider taking Scale ModelWorld to 3 days. And they're seeing exactly the same problem. Is to
Yeah.
I do really you're getting there because people are going to book holidays, even more holiday.
What would you do the Friday or the Monday?
Yeah, Friday.
I was going to say, it's one of those things where the more you put into the show, you've got to weigh it on balance with how much time a person can spend walking around, looking at everything. Because you could spend the day looking at Andy's competition area a complete day looking at that. And then you run around like a lunatic trying to see all the other club scans, and then you decide that your wallet needs to empty a bit, so you need to go see some traders. But by then, all the good stuff has been taken by boulders. Found with going to Scale ModelWorld in the last few years, I end up just chatting to people, and
it dawned on us a couple of years ago that it's as much a social interaction event as it is a model show. Very different. People are going to meet up with their mates, the people they haven't seen for a while, go and see people they've seen on the internet these days or whichever channel they're watching. It's as much about that these days as it is anything else. I mean, I'm not trying to diminish the importance of Andy's competition, which has its pride of place, but it's not the core attraction. Different people are there for different reasons. Some people just want to cruise the traders for 2 days. Some people want to do the competition, but it's that social part of it, that camaraderie, that and the last kind of side of things is vitally important to most people.
Scale ModelWorld has inspired countless people to join, not only just before the event, or even return back to the hobby. There's a few people who we know are coming back to the hobby. Do you see the show as part of IPMS UK's legacy in keeping scale modelling alive for the younger generations?
Hell yes. It's very clear. I mean, the stat Rich commented on, 25% of our membership are members just because of Scale ModelWorld. We now know that. The other 75%, the vast majority, rate it highly. We did a membership survey 3 years ago now, and asked them to rate the things we do. And consistently, Scale ModelWorld was considered the flagship thing we do, plus the magazine. They're the two things available to every member. Not just Scale ModelWorld is a legacy thing, as you rightly say. If we want to carry forward, I don't think any of us who touch it would ever want it to reduce or fail. But I think a lot of the shows, like yourselves at Bolton and all around the country, and indeed other parts of the world, have grown out of what we do at ModelWorld. Some of the European shows feel like Scale ModelWorld, just in a different language. Others don't, and that's not to say they're bad, they're just different. The logistics of areas, the Americans will never have a show that is full of displays like ours is. But all the Americans who come to our show go back and say, we should have more displays. How they do it is another matter, but that's what they do. It really is. The amount of people that would know, I've been on this committee since, I don't know, it feels like since it's starting, not quite. But the number of people I know and have met, there's 8 of us on this call, I would never have met them without Scale ModelWorld. And where did I join the society? The Nationals at Stone. It was rain on a Sunday. I was supposed to be skydiving, but it was rain, so we weren't. So I went to Stoneleigh. I got in a car drive to Stoneleigh and met a guy called Jesse Wright, God bless him, and didn't get into the hall without having joined. And have never left. I'm sure most of us can tell similar stories. And it really is. You only have to hear people talk about it. We mentioned going in a model shop anywhere, particularly one in the Halifax area. Say, well, want to be quick. When's the show going? It's just, it becomes a shorthand for getting together. We still call it the Nationals, and it hasn't been that since 2001. And it was when we dropped that name. But we still call it that. People just say Telford now. It's just the Telford show. That's a tremendous thing for a bunch of people who do this entirely in their spare time to have built up. And back to what Rich said earlier. The difference, I'd take my hat off to anyone who runs a show anywhere, because the way you run it is exactly the same. The only difference is the number of notes on the end, the number of tables, the amount of money, the costs, the number of people who come through the door. The processes and principles are exactly the same. And a good model show is a good model show. And there's a hell of a lot of things we've done, Scale ModelWorld, that other people have got on back of. We were the first people who did polo shirts and that sort of thing. We started out with wristbands for access. A lot of shows have those now. Those are things that we've done that others have ridden on the back of.
So it's something that which you've said there, Paul, which we're very appreciative of, is the amount of effort that goes into this. Because since I've become chair, and I've been toying with the Bolton show behind the scenes with media and stuff like that, and with
the fact that we're now going through the final phases of concentrating on our show in January, it becomes very anxious, very scary when you start looking at the money. And it is one of those things where you do ask yourself the question, why did I volunteer for this? Because it's just putting stress onto yourself, which you ordinarily, I just want to build a model, and yet I'm trying to run effectively a third of Telford Scale ModelWorld for our little Bolton show for a little club like ours.
Well, you're not a little club, and that's the thing, You've probably got as many people directly running the show as we have. Right. Because to be honest, you're probably talking a 3 out of ours. There aren't that many more people who run Model World until the day.
Yeah.
Yes, on the day, we might have 100 volunteers doing things. But in the run-up to it, we might have at most probably 10. You think that's fair, Rich?
If that many.
Yeah, and that's bringing in your floor managers. And what we've done is we've developed volunteers into specialist roles so that we have, sitting outside of the main board, the main exec, we have someone who's in charge of the door, the access route, the foyer area. And she devotes herself to that and writes the rules, and we help her do it. But at the end of the day, we delegate it and let her get on with it. Andy runs his contests, but he has his right-hand people. And I know you couldn't run it without Mike Davey, he does mountains of admin, him and Sue, his wife, do the amount of admin that goes with that. And the Aberdeen boys are there all day doing what they do. But that's on the day. In the run-up to the show, it's still handfuls of people. And this is where I can take my hat off to these guys that are on the call with me. The amount of hassle and traffic that is coming in on their email boxes and other contact routes is ridiculous. And quite a lot of it, being brutally honest, quite a bit of it is needless as well. If people just look online at the websites, at the Facebook pages we run, you will find answers to a lot of your questions. You don't need to contact one of us to get the information. But hey, they get through it and they get it done. But that's without the work that I don't do that part. That is down to Rich, that is down to Mandy, it's down to a guy called Pat Lewern who does the branches and seats. They take the heavy lifting there. It's an honour to have people like that who work with me. I'm sure how you feel, Wong. It's, you might be nominally the lead, but don't mean you do everything. And you couldn't, because it's not possible.
Absolutely.
Team effort.
It is a team effort, and it can only work with the team being right behind you and focused in on delivering some food. We are delivering a product to a certain extent, which
really
it's down for the end users, the clubs, the traders, the punters who come through the door. It's that element of making sure you have a really good time up in Bolton or in Telford for that matter. And we've employed all sorts of tricks and things. About 4 years ago, we brought in a Star Wars costuming group, the 99 Garrison. Good on you, lads. They come in, they give up their time, completely voluntary, and they just make all the kids really happy. And even the old kids like me, who's a Star Wars nut, really happy because I get to have my photo with Darth Vader. It's that type of thing where we just want to give everybody a fantastic experience when they come up here, and they can have a pie as well.
Well, just to take you up on the kids' side of things, you mentioned it in your initial question. The perpetual challenge of the hobby is, how do you get the kids involved? It is a challenge that sort of rattles around my head on a regular basis. So how do we get the kids interested? They're totally reliant on parental support, but what can we offer them in the show to give them some encouragement? So we've got the make and paint area, which is go and build an airtics kit with your person to be with, which goes down very well. I remember Al Murray visited one year and his daughter built a pink tiger or something. We've also now, this is the second year, we've had the Gundam build area as well, which is a very popular area that us as a whole, as a society, haven't really grasped as yet. But I think there's a tremendous scope there to get people to get involved with the Gundam that they're interested in, but then to sort of expand that into the more run-of-the-mill kind of stuff, the standard stuff. We've got to keep working on how to get the kids in and keep them in. We all know they've got other things that distract them, different ages. we've all been through that period, been in the teens and into your early 20s when you're doing something else. Very few people stick with it during that period, but they come back. And that's what COVID also encouraged, was people to come back. They did that when they were younger or they couldn't get out, so what can I do at home kind of thing. But getting the kids in remains an ongoing challenge.
I was going to say, with bringing kids into it, I know it's difficult. One of the things we've seen over here in the States is trying to do that is it's all a case of relevance, because for all of us and our generations, we grew up with those classic war films of the 70s and 80s, and World War II is super relevant to us in that respect. But to these kids, ancient history, it's like us talking about medieval times. So it's hard to find something that is relevant to them and that they can relate to. And yeah, Dan's holding up the Atreides figure. It's going to be more probably sci-fi based. Over here in the US, there's been an explosion of Gundam. And when you look worldwide, there are more Gundam kits sold than anything else. When you look at the big Japanese companies, what we do is a tiny fraction of what they do. I don't think, sometimes people talk about the hobby is dying. I don't think it's dying. I think it's just evolving. There's different aspects to it and different avenues that people can now go down for organizations like the IPMS or any other organization to remain relevant. You have to keep an eye on these things. It's good that you are doing that.
Yeah, we actually got a chap from Bandai coming to help us with that as well this year. I think they sort of tested the water a little bit last year, but there will be a Bandai guy on helping on us and this year at various points. So it's encouraging in itself.
It's certainly massive in Hong Kong. When I went back this year, and I went in hunt of a Bandai Star Wars kit, and I could hardly find any, because everything is wall-to-wall Gundam. And it's one when you ask and you scratch your head and you say to yourself, I don't get it. It's because it's never been that point of reference for me, Japanese Gundam models, because it was never around for me, on the back streets of Salford. You're not going to find that sort of stuff.
And the coin one is that the technology in construction of those kits from the manufacturing perspective is phenomenal. Multicolored screws is just something that the other areas have yet to pick up on.
Just to touch on that one there, Trumpeter brought out the Transformers range from the film series, and they're injection molded, but in 4 different layers of plastic.
Yeah.
And the technology is absolutely phenomenal. My other half hated the hobby, but she's changed her tune now because she's built all of them. It's actually got her interested into the Gundam side of it, because she doesn't want to paint, she doesn't want to glue. All she wants to do is just stick them together, and that is it. But the technology on it is far superior to what other companies are producing, because either tires are chrome, silver, trim, and black. It's all injection molded into one piece, and it's phenomenal. I don't know how they do it, but it's kudos, because the technology is fantastic.
But it's also down to the amount of money that they actually generate from building the Gundams these days. It's actually paying for the tooling for kits that we want. And hopefully will lead in time from those that are actually building the Gundam these days, in the time they'll actually transition potentially as they get older to ships, cars, aircraft, tanks, etc. So it's a lead-in series, in want of a better term, to actually get people into the hobby, on the back of what Paul said in episode 4 about getting youth involved. Ironically, they're both not on the call this evening, but we've got Nevs, who's in his 20s. We've got Luke, who's now just hit his 20s, who's going to be in the stand next to us at Scale ModelWorld. And it's a case of getting them to actually enthuse the hobby and actually make it a younger person's hobby, rather than it being those that are in, I don't want to say the twilight years, but either approaching retirement age or getting close to it.
You mean the stash donators?
Yes, indeed.
But Brownie, I think this is one of the only hobbies I've been in that I can talk to people 3 times my age and we've got something in common.
Exactly. And it's also a way of actually communicating and building a rapport with those people across the ages, which is something we've been trying to do with the pod. And it seems to be working. And people are engaging. And when you look on our socials, etc., the aged range of those that are actually having conversations, turn the clock back 5-10 years, would you expect someone who's in their 70s to be having a conversation online with someone who's in their 20s and actually having an intelligent conversation that's two-way rather than it being one-sided?
Yeah. Getting that completely. Yeah. It's one for me where you know yourself, and even you, Dan, as well, when you're trying to encourage your kids to go into models, and that's what I did with my son. I failed miserably with my daughter because she went off and did art and stuff like this, which is fine. But when you're trying to do something creatively with your kids, I think there's a bit of selfishness on my part where I thought, if I get him into this, that means I can keep it going longer and the wife won't complain.
I've got a story from my side. I've got 2 daughters, and Sam's picture really not interested, but something clearly rubbed off on the eldest one. She went away and did theatre design at degree level. Now, part of what they do as standards, if they're designing a new theatre stage, is to create a model box. Those model boxes are all standard 1/25th scale.
Oh, wow.
She scratch built everything for that stage model. She's done stuff in London and all over the country at various points, but it's all scratch built 1/25th. She refuses to use kits. So something rubbed off, and she's very good at it. I mean, she scratch built a spiral stair, but there's not many people can do that.
Not really, no.
But something, it's there. You know, if you that way inclined, you said your daughter went into art, and message is sown at early ages, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's one where, in terms of my professional career in construction, I remember going into a meeting on the west side of London, and I was in the office there, and it was the developer, and I'll name drop it. It was the Shard of Glass. They had a scale model of the Shard of Glass, and it was ginormous. The figures must have been 1 to 100th scale.
That's typical architecture stuff.
Yeah. So you can imagine how tall this model was, and it was completely hand built. And that was the bit which amazed me. I know these model companies who make these things, but it's people behind it. Because it's not a kit, they have to use hands and skills to produce this sort of thing. Yep. And you look at this stuff, and it still amazes me now. Look at, coming back to it, Scale ModelWorld, and I look at the work there on the competition area and all these sinks and clubs. It's all hand built, it's analog. It's utmost skill, where I see it as a form of artistry more than anything else. Because it is, because it's created by hand and it's painted and constructed. You have put a degree of, without sounding soppy, a degree of love behind what you're actually producing, which comes through in the piece that you've got. Martin produces some fantastic stuff, which tells a story when you actually look at Martin's dios. And it's that element of just being a bit selfish, where you can just walk around having a look and spending time looking at people's work and just think to yourself, bloody hell, I wish I had that skill.
And at any show, you can go and talk to that person probably and understand what they've done, how they've done it, and perhaps learn from them if you wish to, which you can't be looking at a photo online, can you?
Not at all.
I've got a question for you chaps. What tips and advice can you give to first-time visitors to Scale ModelWorld? And obviously some of the veterans that go there. My personal tip, and I've done it for every year, is off-site parking, because it's just easy to get in, because the traffic jam to get in to the main car park is just horrendous, especially on a Saturday morning.
You ain't no man forgetting your wallet.
You've only got one wallet, okay. You know, the obvious thing is sensible shoes. You're on your feet for an awful long time. It's an unforgiving floor. Be prepared to be tired at the end of the day and prepare yourself accordingly. Make sure you obviously drinking properly as well, and I don't mean alcohol necessarily, but just it's to use a phrase that seems to be old hat these days, common sense. Prepare for a long day on your feet. Just for best advice I can give. Don't expect to get to all the traders before 10 o'clock in the morning, because the crowd's not waiting. Patience is a virtue. Think about, do your advance. The floor plans are published. In fact, I'm in the process of updating that at the moment, so they'll be revised probably over the weekend. Plan ahead. Think about who's going to be busy and who's probably going to have what you're looking for in advance, and just plan ahead.
But I would say also, based on most of the things we talked about, trade's very important. A lot of people go because they want to go to the trade areas. But deliberately we mix and match them around. They're scattered all around the hall with the clubs and everything. make sure you do go and look at what else is there. The contest is a massive feature and a real focus. You'll have 1,000 of the best models on the planet available, for you to go and look at. But around the rest of the halls, there'll probably be 20,000 models, many of which will be equally as good, but they're just built by people who don't do contest modeling. Take your time and go around them. Some of the SIGs and branches will be doing special stuff. They never usually tell us what until we get there, but go and talk to them. They'll engage with you. They'll talk to the kiddies. Often they'll have sweets and things like that for them. Make the most of the event. And I mean, my tip for people, perhaps a bit late for many people, is go for both days, because you probably ain't going to do it in one. Not and do it justice. If you only want to go for one day and it's not contest that's your priority, go on Sunday, because it's definitely quieter and some of the barking eggies go away.
Well, if your priority is a competition, go on Sunday, because you'll see the orders for the entirety of the day. There's no gap for judging.
Exactly. And all the prizes are marked up. You can see what's won. So, yeah. But embrace the event. When you arrive, if you remember the public, you'll come to the foyer, either with your advance ticket or you can buy them on the day. You'll end up in the foyer one way or another. And there will be a giz bag to pick up straight away. That will have in it a 48-page show guide that has a plan into the holes that is going to print effectively over this weekend. Pick that up, have a look through it. It'll have other stuff in it. I believe, I may be wrong on this, Rich, but something I was told that we've got, there's certainly some catalogue-y and leaflety type things there to pick up and look at. Yeah, well, actually, also a newspaper, isn't there?
Yes, there's a Battle of Britain special newspaper that will be in the Gizzit bag as well. That will accompany the special display.
And that's produced by Wingleader, the book publisher that Mark Posway, the artist, works for.
Marty's got a question. Can he have a copy, please?
No, I'd love one, but you might have to explain to people not from the UK what a Gizzit bag is.
It's a carrier bag that has goodies in it. We have absolutely an idea what will be in that bag.
So it's year 6. It's bag.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about
Gives us up.
It's basically when you put all the stuff you buy in. It'll be printed material, some magazines and all kinds of stuff like that. Pick that up, have a look at it. Not many model shows have a 48-page show guide to tell you what's going on and give you some articles to read when you're having coffee and all that sort of stuff. As Rich says, take your time, look around. We are trying to put with chairs and rest areas dotted around, not in huge numbers, but there's a big cafe in 3. There's catering outside hall 1. The foyer has a Costa and seating and things there. Take time and enjoy that. And if you end up sitting at a table and 2 or 3 other people sit down with you, talk to them, because that's how a lot of this starts. You'll suddenly know people you didn't know, and hey-ho, that's much the better for all of us in the long run.
Say hello to the guys in the bright orange T-shirts, because it's us.
It's us.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're not wearing yellow. You do not ask where the moves are.
That's why we went for orange.
Indeed.
What's your tip, Andy? My tip is prepare a shopping list. If you want to save money, prepare a shopping list. To spend efficiently, prepare a shopping list. Because otherwise, you'll get overwhelmed. Completely overwhelmed. Yeah, so that is my top tip. And I have my little iPhone notes with a long list of things that I need this year. Economy of effort. That's what
Come on, Andy. How many times have you gone thinking, I'm only going to spend 300 quid, that's it. And then we go way over that.
Every single year, exactly.
Unique to the like to just flag. I mean, for those who's never been, one important thing, Scale ModelWorld at the moment, it is always on Remembrance Weekend, which is a really important time here in the UK. We do participate in that every year. We have a bugler will be there, and anyone from a military background who wishes to do so is welcome to join a small parade on a gantry. It's findable if you need to. And at 11 o'clock, the place will stop dead. Our officer in command, Mr. Brown there, or Wing Commander Brown for that sub 20 minutes, will make the appropriate phrases to going down to the sun and that sort of thing. Bugler does his bit, and the hall stops for 2 minutes of silence. And it's a very good thing to sit and hear. So please do get involved. Anybody who is there, please turn your mobile phone off. It's for 5 minutes. So that's quite an important thing for us. And the other one is, it is a show run by members for members. The whole thing is done by volunteers. Anyone who is wearing the yellow polo shirt And the one branch you make a mistake of ordering those, I know, have changed them to another colour now, so it won't be them. If we're wearing yellow, it's one of us who's running it in some way. We do have a radio net. We are in contact. If you see something, you don't know something, you want to ask about, call anyone in yellow. Just ask them for help or whatever you want to do. Trust us, we'll do our best to help or sort out your issue. Please approach us, talk to us. We may look incredibly busy some of the time, we probably are, but we're there to help. It is still, might be the biggest on the planet, but it is still at heart a members show for modelers. That's what it's all about. Make the most of that. Thanks.
I was just going to say, for anyone that's just stumbled across this podcast and is free that weekend, can you give us the who, the what, the where, and the why for, including times, prices, etc., for the Scale ModelWorld show?
Riches.
You say that?
No. Allow work. Focusable on an audio podcast about it.
Okay, so we're looking at the 8th and 9th of November. It's at the International Centre in Telford. If you are a member of any IPMS branch globally, there you have free access. If you're a member of the public otherwise, it's a £25 day ticket. No concessions. Our preference would be if you could book online. If you go to our webpage, uk.org, there will be a page there where it's a tab that points you directly to our model world and where to buy your tickets from. That said, we are offering the opportunity to buy tickets at the door, cash and card. We hadn't done that over the last couple of years, but we've opened that up. So it is a viable option. Doors for members open 9 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday from the front entrance. Doors to the public open at 10 o'clock both days. So it's a benefit of membership to get an extra hour in ahead of the public. Show opens until 6 o'clock on Saturday and it closes at 4 o'clock on Saturday. That it, Paul?
Pretty good synopsis. Well done. Did it from memory as well.
F.
Well done.
I've written there, I've turned.
All right, well, just to finish things off then, and we'll do something that we do with most of our guests, we'll just run around the three of you and find out what you're actually building at the moment, if you've actually got time to do any modelling. Starting with Paul, what's on your bench at the moment?
Still the same one as when we get issue 4 of this. And I'm afraid soon we finish this, I'm to say I'm back on to working on the show guide to get that back off to print tomorrow. So yeah, it's pretty non-ending at this moment if you have another job. So sorry, still the same F-15s. But hopefully they'll be ready for next year's Ducks for Derby.
Well, we get there eventually. Okay, Rich, what are you working on at the moment?
Quite a long list, actually, and they're all very nearly finished. So I have an ANT 125th Ford Mustang, which I've about backdated to a 64.5 version. And it's going to be finished in the colours of Alain Racing in the Tour de France automobile from 1964. Scratch-built grille, 3D printed wheels that I've done myself. It's stencil race numbers and some homemade decals, so it's not exactly out of the box. Accompanying that is a Trumpeter 124th Scarifold Falcon, also in Oman colours from the 1966 British Saloon Car Championship at Silverstone, where it won this race. They will be going on to the F1 Motorsport Seek stand, who are celebrating Tin Top Racing under the banner of Saloonatics. So hopefully, from what I've seen so far, a lot of bright coloured cars from all ages. We had a little bit of a side thing, some cartoon vehicles have been 3D printed and painted in various schemes, just for a bit of a laugh, and we're looking forward to seeing all those together. I'm also building an Airfix 143rd DB5 Aston for the Jadwal Group build. That's just about finished now. That's in a nice bright blue rather than silver. I've got another one that I've chopped the roof off, so that's going to be a soft top. So that's it's been filled in and put off today, so that's looking okay. So I'll pursue that over the weekend. And I've also got a Lamborghini Huracan, which is also going down that route as well. Lots and lots on the test at the moment. They'll all be finished by the end of the weekend, preferably.
All I want to know is how the hell have you got the time to do that? I'm struggling to do one Sea King and actually edit the podcast, and that's it. You're running the whole sodding show.
It's called time management.
Yeah, I know. Trouble is, day job to get in the way of that.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and Andy, what have you got on your bench?
I've got Tamiya 48 F4B.
which I'm building for the second time. And I need to be clear about this. That's the same model for the second time. Because until 1 week ago, it was in the most pristine Jolly Rogers scheme, early 70s, 680 stencil data items on it, clever clogs. So I tell you what, why don't I use this really impressive new varnish I've heard all about? Sprayed it on, crazed the entire thing. So I spent the last week stripping it back to plastic, and down I'm busy shading the back end, or the metallic work at the back end.
Are you going to put them stencils back on, Andy?
No, I'm going for a low speed this time.
Yes.
What was the new language code you actually invented when that happened?
Oh, I can't you? Not fit for broadcast.
Oh dear. It was proper Mancunian.
With proper Mancunian. But it will be, it's going well now, second time around.
Will that be ready for Telford?
It might be, actually. It might be.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. I think the points and the information we've got across should hopefully give those that are attending and didn't know the background onto the show a little bit of more of an insight on what actually goes on behind the scenes. And for those that are thinking about should I or shouldn't I, hopefully it's now made you make your mind up and actually you're going to go and have a fantastic weekend. So Paul, Andy, Rich, thank you very much. And we look forward to meeting you in person at the weekend.
All right, thank you, Brownie. Cheers.
Hey, paradise. Paradise. Hey, bye, all.
Think you've heard it all? Think again. Follow Beyond the Box Art on the socials for updates that breaks the boundaries, bends rules, and redefines the ordinary.
Right, guys, another packed episode. And with that, we will just say our goodbyes. So from Wongy.
Right, everyone, and while you're at Scale ModelWorld, or if you're just listening in, remember it's 60 parts or less.
Dan.
Onwards to Telford.
Mark.
Hey guys, when you get there, have a great time.
Martin.
Sorry, I'm not going to be at Telford. Wish I could, but have fun and have a cheeky pint for me.
Make sure it's on the list for you for next year. And from Luke.
Goodbye.
And Boulders.
Cheerio all, and don't forget to get those special receipts from the traders that shows you've only paid £10.
You'd be surprised how many people ask that.
I'll tell you what, raffle ticket books sell out in stationery.
I don't know how to end that. So from myself, thank you very much for listening, guys. And don't forget, Saturday, midday, special episode. It's what Revell is bringing out at the start of 2026. So till then, bye.
Follow us, so whether you like your beavers big or small, you'll be covered. Sorry, I didn't even read that bit. I didn't even see that, but that's funny. I can't believe that beaver bit came in. That just threw me when I read it out. I just besides laughing. It's funny though, because I wonder how many people will actually laugh at that when it comes out.